Got my 70s boy band hair going on here. Oh my goodness.
Getting your number to go on.
Oh. See how that works. Not bad, a little more light. That'll work. Oh. Okay, everybody. The week's been generally a pretty slow week. Spent some time doing a few little repair and maintenance items, helping Lauren a little bit, doing a little bit of canning. Got that video out on the repairing the impact mill. Well, that's because he was writing on the board. Which sign do you want? Oh my goodness.
There we go. Yeah, the pace is increasing a small amount.
So, say I'm very comfortable on the repairs on that impact mill. We canned some salsa this week, and image of what, Tricky? Not sure. I'm talking about your picture 4 that you sent me. I say I don't know if you want me to describe that to anybody or keep it confidential at this time. It's kind of an interesting situation, but it's your situation, not mine. Anyhow, so we haven't really done anything that significant this week. Okay, I will, Tricky. And say there's a few little, tweaks from a clean sheet. I'm going to do some different stuff on the next one. What? Hi, honey bunny. How do I remove the manganese from my samples? I really don't know. If you really wanted to purify the gold and you had manganese in it, you could use any standard refining technique like the aqua regia digestion followed by sodium bisulfite precipitation sort of thing should work. If you had manganese oxide, you could use an amalgamation step. On a laboratory scale, amalgamation could be done pretty safely. Wear gloves. But that's another way you could do that fairly simply. Depending on the size of the gold, you may have to just kind of scrub it into the mercury plate. And that'll make it stick real well. SSN. Not sure, Tricky. Could you expand on that? SSN. There's a lot of things that'll dissolve gold. So I don't spend a lot of time researching gold refining techniques, more like extraction. Saturated salt and nitric. Okay. Yeah, it's the chloride and the oxidation potential that matter, right? You know. um, but yeah, there's a lot of different techniques that can be used. I'm just worried about getting it into doré, but basically, that's what fascinates me is turning rock to doré. Um, anyhow, I was sending something. Oh, yes. Tricky apparently is making progress on things, and they have found um, a location where they have what appears to be gold bars that were then, or at least some gold bars that were encased in kind of an asphaltic concrete compound when it was left. And this asphaltic concrete compound also has some extremely toxic stuff in it, like World War I gas type toxic stuff. So they have to be very careful in extracting the gold bars from what's with surrounding them. Apparently, these stashes were not designed to be easily accessible. Let me put it that, or safely accessible. They wanted to keep out people who didn't have the keys, so to speak. He says they're making good progress, and they will have substantially more information in the not too distant future that they can share with everybody, which sounds really awesome. Yeah. Yeah, cool. I break for better. We were up there. Was it you? It's up there by not Kingman. What was it?
Outside of Phoenix area.
Yeah, the Octave mine, I think it was.
Yeah.
I think that was you guys.
Yeah.
And we were metal detecting. We found that one chunk that also looked like a meteorite too. No, that wasn't break for bedrock. That was the guy that we were showing I break for bedrock with. Yeah.
That was the guy we were helping to look at a mining claim he was considering.
Yeah, that was the guy that we put you in touch with, Adam. Yeah, we were up by the old Octave mine, swinging a metal detector there, and picked up something. Yeah, it looked like a meteorite. Exactly. I don't know for sure, but it looked pretty cool too. So yeah, that's nice.
Did he find a meteorite somewhere?
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, Jean-Francois. A lot of amazing coincidences happen when you're shopping on the internet. All of a sudden, you start seeing things you were wanting to look at. Yeah.
No, that never happened.
Oh, yeah.
You are absolutely full of it.
Well, that too. But anyhow, so yeah, it can happen in Arizona where they don't have much in the way of vegetation. It's not horribly unusual. It's a lot easier in Antarctica where they really show up against the ice. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't trust these electrons as far as I can throw them, and I can't get a good grip on them, so I can't throw them very far. It would be difficult for someone like you or I, Jean-Francois, but there's things like aerodynamic sculpting and what do you call it? It leaves kind of a rind and stuff like that. And yes, if it's a nickel iron meteorite, which is what you're going to find with a metal detector, then yeah, then you cut it, polish it, and acid etch it to look for the Windman-Stratton patterns. Well, then I think your grammar's a little off. That should be had, not have.
What kind of patterns?
Windmanstraten.
Well,
Well, they're just, it's similar to if you take any kind of iron alloy or whatever and cut it and then acid etch it, you'll see the crystal patterns. Well, Windmanstraten patterns are the ones you get when you cut open a nickel iron meteorite and looked at it. And um, so that's about it. Next week, we're setting up getting the suspension fixed for the minor Bago, and that'll take. We'll be heading up to Great Falls, and they're going to completely redo the springs and the bushings and stuff. They're going to pull the springs and reshape them and put them back on, and rebush everything, and so it'll be riding properly again. And that should last it for another 10 years. I understand, Jean-Francois. Uh, I what's his name? Lauren says that you can take a big spud bar out with you and smack it into the ice ahead of you, and you can tell if it's thick enough to be safe. But that sounds kind of like checking to see how far you can lean out over the Grand Canyon without a rope. But a safer way would be take your ice auger and just auger your way out. Around here, out in front of Lauren's house, which is where that picture was that I put up as the thumbnail today. There's a current through one spot there, and so that's thinner ice. And I saw some holes really close to the edge when there was a hole in the ice there, a good sized hole. I'm looking at holes that they drill like 20 feet from the edge, and I'm like, that would scare the hell out of me. I don't want to go swimming in that. Although they make a little thing that you put around your neck. You can run the cords through your sleeves if you want, but basically it's a couple of like little ice picks, so that if you do fall through the ice, you got them on you and you can get a grip on it to drag yourself back up, and that is a good thing to have. But then you're still going to have to get back to someplace warm before you succumb to hypothermia. If it's a good sized lake or whatever, that might be quite the issue. But yeah, they've been driving quads out there for a while. Right now, the temperature is warming up. I mean, it's right at freezing right now, which is a little too warm for ice fishing. So I think it'll get down again. Typically, it's pretty early in the year to heat up and stay up. But it's
climate change.
It's going to be up in the 40s for like the next week or so. So we don't have a lot of snow on the ground, about a foot. It'll be melting. And just don't get coot by CERNT. Okay? I suspect that's a typing error there, Gordon. Let's see. Tricky sent me another email. Let's see what's going on here. Little one, come on over here. It's Alice's birthday party from Tricky.
Ooh. Alice's birthday party.
Yep.
Oh, look at that.
Everyone looks very happy. Now, are those all your kids? They all look about the same age. My guess is that those are some of the neighbors or something too.
Well, they all look very happy. And look at that birthday girl.
Yep.
Adorable.
Very good, David. Those are all his kids.
They're adorable.
Yep. They all look very happy.
They are all adorable.
Yep. Anyhow, so I say that's the plan for next week. And say I've been a little bit distracted. I had some other stuff to do. I've been helping out Lauren in the shop, but it's nothing of any consequence. We're not doing anything really exciting, although if he redoes the hitch on that truck, I'll ask him if he wants me to video that, because that might be pretty cool. I mean, right now we're replacing a water pump. And why would that be, Shaggy? He hasn't had water in a week at his trailer park, huh?
Probably something to do with freezing weather.
Okay, the kids you saw were 2, 4, 6, 8, and 13.
Yeah. Then they'd all be sisters.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'd all be related.
Anyhow, so are they all girls, Tricky? But anyhow, so that's it there. And just catching up with a bunch of stuff. If somebody's got a really good subject to pop up with, lay it on us here. Let's see what else I got. Anything?
Yeah, just the number I wrote up there.
Before the show, Jimmy was asking if he could maybe get the 2-year-old is George, little one.
Mm-hmm.
If Tricky could find him a wooden batea pan and ship it over here and stuff.
Well, they're all absolutely gorgeous children.
And I was thinking the other day when we were talking about batea pans and how wood seems to be better, and I mean that's what Rock seemed to be fairly convinced of from his experience. I was thinking you could take a plastic batea pan and cut a piece of wood veneer, something like this, so that when you folded it up and touched the edges, it would perfectly line a batea pan like that. Just use a waterproof glue and just glue it in there, and you'd have a batea pan potentially with the best of both worlds. It would have the wood surface with the strength of and lightness of plastic. Plus, you could also you might be able to, honey bunny. I mean, it shouldn't be too hard if you got a decent wood lathe or something where you can chuck in a big chunk of wood, put it on a live center or something. But I say, I don't know. But yeah, exactly. Contact cement or something like that. One thing this would allow you to do too was you could try a variety of different wood veneers. You could see how it works with different grain orientations and different surface treatments. For example, lanolin, no treatment, a variety, you can do a variety of things and see if there's a combination of wood and treatment that would give you excellent recoveries. Yeah, 14 should be good enough, honey bunny. I think if you can finally send us a photo, Tricky, and I can send it over to Jimmy. He's looking for something, you know, an original sort of thing, collector item. Maybe Jean Francois, but then you'd have a plastic pan, not a wood pan. I don't know. It's a good question. Um, the physics, you might call it macro and micro physics. And maybe Kodak. And how do you sand it too? What's the orientation of the sandpaper? Um, the macro physics of the pan is essentially liquefaction and settling, you know, and then you get stratification after liquefaction and wash off the top layer. Okay. Um, on the other hand, a uh, the fine gold and the finishing part, that has a lot to do with the surface texture, the attraction or lack of attraction of gold to the actual material of the surface, and things like that. Don't see why not, Honey Bunny. But you might make the surface texture, Jean Francois, but are you going to make the surface chemistry? You know, for example, the texture of an amalgamation plate is pretty much the same as a copper plate. It works a whole lot differently because of that. That's why I'm wondering how much, when capturing fine gold, would respond to actual adhesion attraction sort of forces. I don't know. You take care, Adam. Be safe. It's gonna get hot. Enjoy while it can. Well, if you were to make it out of plywood, in other words, multiple plies, that would work too. I was particularly thinking about actually just taking a plastic patella pan, cutting a piece of veneer so you can curl it and set it in there, and the seam is basically invisible, so to speak, or insignificant, and then just sticking it in there and trying that and see, how different things work. That's all. Yeah, I'm thinking something like a carbon fiber or whatever. If you could get kind of an absorbent fiber where you could get it to take lanolin or something like that, um, and use different materials, because the golden fleece was a thing. You know, they used sheep fleeces with lanolin, and so I'd like to um, see what various surface treatments might work or not. For example, wax might work good to let the uh, rocks slide off and the gold will stick to it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Beeswax we could try.
There's all kinds of things. It's kind of hard to try these things right now for some reason. Oh yeah, that's right. Water isn't a liquid right now.
That's just your convenient excuse.
We'd like to.
We have a bathroom, dude.
Yeah, well, I'd like to try this in the springtime. Once things are warming up and we have nice warm spells to work in, but the snow hasn't melted out of the high country yet. And that might be it. It might be a white food grade rubber belt material in a plastic patella pan. Yeah. That's it. That's the sort of thing that, instead of making a one material device, you can have a durable, inexpensive plastic as your structural material, and then some kind of a liner which is specifically designed with texture and surface attraction to the gold in mind, either direct surface attraction or the ability to hold an attractant to it. Like, for an example, a copper plate will hold mercury to it. Copper plate won't do well by itself, but you can coat it with something. You wouldn't want it mercury. Take care, Tricky. Keep it safe. Have a good time. And those kids sure look happy.
And kiss those babies.
Kiss the babies. But anyhow, so I say it's one of those things that is interesting in terms of a thought experiment, and it could be it's a kind of research we could do pretty easily and cheaply. So we shall see what we shall see. But that's something I'd kind of like to do in the late spring. If I forget, remind me, folks, okay? Another thing I'm thinking is that the motion of a batea pan in its primary concentration phase should be pretty good to turn into a continuous flow process. If you had a drainage tube at the apex of the cone here and fed the material in here, then the tailings would go over the sides because it's a circular motion. And you might make a good rougher with that. That's possible, honey bunny. So I don't know if vibration would work. The batea pan moves in a pretty large circle, like this sort of thing. But yeah, say that kind of a motion is easily replicable with a mechanical device. Yeah, the problem is a batea pan does not work by spinning. That's just not a good method. I'm thinking that a batea concentrator might work good to scalp the gold out of the flow with fairly high efficiency, but not high purity. And then from there, it would go to something else. I don't know. When I get liquid water, I can play some good. I do have a batea pan out at the lab. Exactly, Kodak. It's not centered. It's like this. And say I haven't really used one, so I don't. I've got one now, but I haven't used it, so I haven't tried different things, so I can't tell. Well, it's not a matter of getting the gold to go down. It's a matter of fluidizing the material, Jean-Francois. And it's very easy to pack with vibration. The devices I've used, for example, there's something called a keen hydromatic jig. And the basic shape is a tub like this that oscillates this way and has water applied in the bottom. And let me tell you, with 6 inches of material in here, it's virtually impossible to keep it fluidized. And things that will help with fluidization, in my experience, are large amplitude, low frequency, and thin material thickness. Those are kind of the things that seem to get you the best liquefaction and therefore the best stratification. You know, just vibration like this, they use that to settle fluidizable soils around harbors and stuff. So, hi, Rock. Cool, Rock.
Hi, Rock.
So, I say that's what I've seen in terms of stratification. Um, the multi-gravity separator by Mosley, huh? Okay. Let's see. That's possible, Jean-Francois. But like anything else, I like to see it. People have all kinds of nice sounding stuff. Multi-gravity separator. Continuous processing separation machine. Let's see. Let's see. We got a diagram of this. It looks kind of like a high G separator. Okay, so you have to have fine feed material. It looks like a centrifugal drum. Okay. Yeah, that should work. Oh, let's see. So take it easy, Rock. I don't think anyone has a specific question for you just now, but if anyone thinks of one, hold it up and uh, let Rock get some food and a shower, and then he can kind of check in before he hits the hay, and he'll be in good shape. I don't know, Jean-Francois. Again, it's one of those things that I'd have to try it and see. I found that nothing ever works the way I think it does. Sounds good, Rock. Get some rest. Let's say it's like, I mean, wavetable problem with fluidization. It wouldn't maintain fluidization if you fed it a reasonable amount of material, like over 100 pounds an hour. It would solidify. Take care, Tricky. The hydromatic jig, some of the same thing. I say, so I've kind of gone to thin layers are easier to keep fluidized. Is kind of my experience, and more of a chinka chinka instead of doesn't work too well. Chinka 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 seems to work better, but I'm sure it also depends on the particle size of the material itself, etc., etc., etc. Design scale very badly. I hate that phrase, Jean-Francois. But yeah, that's been my experience. That's why I say the Batea pan is used in most of the world as basically a production pan, and um, as such, as say, it would probably, the concept would probably work okay as a concentrator, a primary concentrator. But I don't know. I'll do more testing this spring now that we got a lot of stuff stockpiled from that mystery dump and some from top of the hill. I have stuff that I can actually, pan something and go from there. Um, Say we shall see. Have lots of fun things to try once I can do so. A magic wand. Wow. That sounds special, Jean Francois. When you get it figured out, let me know, okay? So, as I say, that's basically the situation there. And well, that sounds good to me, Jean Francois. It would also find it. So you just tell it to point and it would, just follow the pointy wand, you know? See, anything else? Not that much really. Say just not really have time to do much mining or even lab work. I've got the sample off from that bottle roll, but the lab had an issue with his equipment, and the part was going to be here in a few days, and then he can actually get back in business and stuff. I told him I'm in no rush on this. There's no sense worrying about that. Just work it in at the most efficient way. Ooh, that sounds real good, honey bunny. But just going to take some time. He's a nice guy. I like him. Oh, there we go. Let's see here. This is going to be a show and tell, and see who gets the answer the quickest. Okay. Now, what is it? Who's quick? Who's quick? The guy at the lab gave this to me.
Anybody know what it is?
What kind? Nope, it's not. Okay, what kind? Come on, a little more specific than that. Nope, David. Jean-Francois and Jeff have got the rough thing that's like a car. It has a fixed volume. Yep. This is a volumetric pipette. Okay, this is not for measuring density. It's for measuring volumes with high precision. Because in order to do a larger volume, you need a larger tube, and a larger tube means your graduations are closer together, which means, well, yeah, but there's all kinds of pipettes. Jean-Francois? See, let me get you a. See, this is a pipette also. Okay, this is kind of a standard pipette. And the 10 milliliter mark is right there. Now, this is also a 10 milliliter, but the mark is up here. Let's see if I can get that. It's easier to see. Well, that really reflects. Anyhow, and because it's a very narrow, right there, because a narrow diameter tube, it's very easy to measure it to that line very precisely. Whereas with this, it would be harder to get that much precision. Now, nothing we do requires anywhere near that precision, but these are glass. He doesn't use them very much. He's had them left over from some other stuff, so he just gave us this one, which is nice. This is what he usually uses. And these are, he says, about $1 in bulk, and he just uses them as disposable ones. These are plastic.
Nothing is disposable in my life.
You know, it's not a test tube because it doesn't have a closed end. You use a bulb to suck the liquid into it. This gives you a lot of volume, and this gives you a highly precise volume when you get it to that. Because, I mean, this is a fairly small one. You can have these in 25, 50, 100 milliliters, but they're that accurate. So that's what it is. The same way they test for alcohol, this would have a closed bottom. There's a measured weight. And there's a scale on there, and it's a, I don't think it's it's not a gravitometer, but basically it measures the density of the liquid by where does it float. What's the name of those? Hydrometer. Absolutely. You are correct, David. But anyhow, SA. Yeah, there you go. Bomb is a particular scale. It's a hydrometer graduated in a particular scale. But this is for using precision measurements. And yeah, you should always use a bulb. And the guy at the lab has a really nice bulb. Basically, squeeze the bulb and nothing happens except the bulb is now collapsed. One button causes the vacuum to be connected to the pipette and suck the liquid up into it. Then when you release that, once it gets past here, and then you push the other one, and that bleeds air pressure into the pipette and allows the liquid to go down, so you can suck it up and lower it, just pushing buttons. Man, it looks so cool compared to what we have to do right now. So I ordered one of those bulbs. It should be in probably this week, little one. Might be there tomorrow. And you will have a valved pipette bulb for your very own use. And you will see how much easier it is.
Woohoo! Bearing in mind that I have never had an issue with my regular pipette bulb.
Oh, it will spoil you, little one.
Well, then I better not use it. We better save it for you, since you have an issue with my regular pipette.
No, it's not sealed at all. Yes. Say. And so anyhow, those are just a couple of kinds of pipette. When I get the bulb, I can show you how it works, and it really makes it easy to be precise. It really does. So I think Eva will enjoy it. And especially when you're doing production work like the guy at the lab does. I mean, he's doing samples all day long, doing the exact same thing. And it just makes life real easy. It's like the difference between a hand drill and a drill press. It really makes a difference. You can do it with a hand drill if it's not too big, but it's a lot easier with a drill press. So let's see. Anything else? How much were these tweezers, little one? Where did you get them?
Timu, shop like a billionaire. They were like less than $1 a pair.
Yeah. Here's some nice little tweezers. These had the safety thing on the tips.
Varieties.
And they were like $1 a pair on Temu. They seem to be okay. Yeah, syringes work pretty well too. They're in some ways very similar to a pipette, but I've used syringes a lot too. They allow you to get a precise amount. pretty easily. Oh, anything else going on here? Goodness gracious. I say it's right because I got a lot of stuff going on in my life, but not much mining right now. Got a lot of other things, and um, I still can't believe that Lauren can eat that the salsa and stuff that we make for him. Man, that guy. Whew, I used a little mini food processor to chop up the habaneros and serranos for him. And by the way, do you want to test that and see if it's still too hot, little one, for you? And we cleaned the container. We cleaned this container twice with soapy water. We were chewing up a cucumber in it today, and it was burning Eva's mouth. So now she's going to see. Now she's actually kind of allergic to habanero.
I'm not tasting anything now, but it ruined my mint and cucumber that was going in my tzatziki sauce.
Yep. Okay. Well, we'll get you another cucumber tomorrow then.
We gotta taste the tzatziki and see if it needs more mint and pepper too. Mint and dill. I'm gonna taste it.
Yeah, I think I've seen those too, Jean-Francois, where they actually roll the thing up and down. Hey, Lauren, nice to see you on the thing here. That stuff from that last batch, little one, that was like twice the normal concentration of habanero.
Mm-hmm.
Says just finished that half jar. Very nice. Oh my
God! Your habaneros got into my cucumber and mint from my tzatziki. This is not good.
So,
and by the way,
I couldn't taste it, but I said I think she's a little bit allergic, so we have to do more.
I am allergic.
So, I went and I took it and I cleaned it with alcohol first, and then did it with another. So we know how to properly decontaminate the kitchenware now.
Taste probably could be stirred up a little more.
Yeah, that really tastes a lot like tzatziki sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just missing the cucumber.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
So
I got a tzatziki sauce recipe that comes from a fancy Greek restaurant on the island of Paros. So it's actually real tzatziki.
yeah, Lauren, tell everyone how your shoulder's doing and stuff there.
And if Lauren likes tzatziki, that yogurt they have at Costco is really perfect, even though it's fat free.
I don't know if Lauren likes tzatziki. Maybe Clara does. I don't think that's spicy enough for Lauren.
Oh no! I mean, his would have to be filled with 19 zillion ounces of habanero.
Habanero tzatziki. Oh my goodness. So yeah, that's kind of the stuff we've been keeping busy with right now. That and shoveling snow, and a few other things. So say sorry, it's been kind of slow. Don't have a lot to say about a lot of things. Sounds about right, Lauren. Yeah, Shaggy, I learned a long time ago. I'm from Southern Arizona, and I learned a long time ago if I didn't specify real mild, it was going to be too hot. Yep. Hey, Lauren, I was talking to him earlier. You think maybe that hitch you're adding to the back of that truck might be something that we'd make a video on that people would find interesting. I don't think, changing a water pump's really that exciting. uh, what is the best material to use for the rods when dropping gold with electrolysis? Now, are you talking the cathodes or the anodes, Mindfinder? Because if you're talking cathodes, probably best with carbon to minimize the contamination of the liquid. On the other hand, if a little contamination isn't going to do you a problem, I use just standard carbon steel anodes and sacrifice them in my stripping circuit because I've already got a bunch of iron in there, so it doesn't matter a heck of a lot. And they're cheap. I'm very careful not to use stainless steel because the stainless steel will get nickel and chromium, things like that, plated onto the cathode. And then that does not want to cupel out of the gold. On the other hand, I say iron contamination on the gold sludge from the cathodes, not a problem. It cupels right out. So that's what I do. I use a stainless steel cathode, that would be the negative plate, and a carbon steel anode. In my case, for what I'm doing, I just use 2-inch strap. I use 2-inch strap metal, and it's all designed for it. And so I just cut pieces of strap, use them up when they get too corroded, throw them away. Hey, Adam, how's it going? I presume you're getting fairly warm temperatures down there too, Adam. Wow. That's a pretty big power supply. Is that an adjustable DC power supply, Jean-Francois? Yeah, the field work at these temperatures is less than ideal. When I'm shoveling snow here, I'd say like last week it was 15 to 30 below zero shoveling snow. And really, Shaggy, interesting. He said China had a 7.0 earthquake last night. And so my fingers would get a little cold, even with the gloves and stuff. So I'd come in like every half hour, 45 minutes. Winds were so strong you're being blown into your truck. Well, that's not good. Especially if it's anywhere in the below 30 degrees. It gets real cold real fast in high winds. And if you ever see me just put in like a decimal point and then in my comment stream, it's because that stupid heart that's over there blocks the end of the string. So I'm doing that just to kick it up so I can see the next one. You saw a fire truck run into a house in Michigan?
Oh, that's bizarre.
I was actually doing some ice water panning the other day, Jean-Francois. It's not fun, but as long as you don't spend too much time in the water, it's not too bad. But yeah, it's not pleasant. And he doesn't even seem to notice it. Yeah, he definitely noticed it. Oh man, honey bunny. Bad pun. You saw a fire truck hit an ambulance and then go into a house, huh? That's some slippery roads, man. I presume that's what it was. Yep. Good Lord. The roads here have been actually fairly decent. What kind of rock crusher, Adam? What is he trying to do? Is he trying to pulverize? Is it just a jaw crusher? What volume is he doing? Is it for just a little bit of prospecting work and sampling, or is he trying to do something where he can do some bulk samples? I need a little more information. Freezing rain sucks, the big one, Jean-Francois. So, yeah, as soon as you get me a little more information, I'll be happy to respond instantaneously, Adam. I've seen a lot of different stuff work. Okay. Yeah, I've asked him exactly what he wants to use it for. I'll give you some general answers right now. Okay. If it's just for small test samples of hard rock, you can probably get by with a hammer, a steel plate, and then a small chain mill. Hey, Rock. And you can see them on the internet for $1,500 or whatever. You can get the smaller ones that go on a battery powered disc grinder, like Cobra Crusher there, something like that. And but those only do very small samples. If you need something bigger, really, I think it's hard to beat an RC46 for like bulk sampling or very small scale production. But no, it's not cheap, and it's not something you can just pack up. I have the one with the axle on it stuff, and that's where the it's like 850 pounds, but it'll do about 500 pounds an hour, and it'll crush. If you've got the rolls crushers engaged, it'll crush it down to a medium sand without too much trouble. I have one, and that's what I use most of the time. I use the jaw crusher as a jaw crusher if I'm just going preliminary before I throw it into a real impact mill. Or if I'm doing sampling, I'll often use the rolls to crush it finer so I can split down for a sample to the lab or to do some other testing on or something like that. But I use either my impact crusher or the Stutenroth to do some serious pulverizing. The rolls crusher on that doesn't do a real fine job. It doesn't get a fine grind, and they get real expensive. Now, a disc crusher, I'd be interested to see what he's got with that. Oh, you're welcome. I say that's the key, is how much are you doing and how fine do you need to grind it? Those are your two major criteria. A disc grinder is real good for a laboratory setup because it's easy to clean. It does a real fine grinding job and is easy to clean. A small chain mill that's easy to pull the cover off of, that's also pretty easy to clean too. Wear rates suck though. You're going to wear it out real quick if you're doing very much at all. Hi, Kenneth. How's it going? So I say there's all kinds of questions there, but yeah, I like the RC46, but they are expensive now. Um, I think they only build. I don't know if they build the single set of rolls ones or only the double rolls. Now I think only the double rolls. Um, but that's you know $10,000, $11,000 or something, and almost 1,000 pounds. Yeah, it's a serious size machine and a serious expensive machine, but it's a good step up if you need the capacity. It's a nice package. Yeah, the chain ones also put in a lot of tramp iron. Any kind of impact mill is going to put in a lot of tramp iron. Absolutely. Luckily, the tramp iron is rarely a problem to deal with. In many cases, you can just ignore it. In other cases, you just extract it with a magnet. Either way, not a big problem. But you will be putting iron into it. Absolutely. Sounds cheaper to make your own. It depends. Do you have a shop? Do you have the skills? If you got to buy a welder and the chop saw and the this and the that and the other and learn welding and learn fabricating and like that, yeah, not so much. On the other hand, someone like you might not be a bad idea, honey bunny. I think my impact mill, especially pound for pound, beats the snot out of a Stutenroth. Um, if you're going to be doing wet grinding and you're doing external classification anyway, Stutenroth is a beast of a machine. Absolutely. But my little 6-inch wide impact mill was running at around 200 pounds per hour to 95% passing 60 mesh, where that Stutenroth, I'm only getting 500 pounds an hour, 100% passing 16 mesh. you know it's like you know what the heck. Yeah, there's if all you're doing is just small samples for lab work and stuff, those little angle grinders ones are hard to beat. You know, of course, honey bunny, one would not anticipate otherwise. Um, but yeah, say it's a deal where um, it depends on what you're trying to do. But I really like my mill, and that's because it's self-classifying and it moves the material from there on all by itself. So that again, just that's another step that no longer requires either another machine or a person to intervene. It just blows it out. So I'm very happy with my design for what it's designed for, which is light production. Hopefully, we'll get a bigger version, tougher version built sometime this spring. That would be kind of cool. And if Lauren's still there, I was thinking of a way we could line the back of the chamber too, just an octagonal plate with an eighth of an inch of clearance all the way around, like 4 holes, and then just thread them and then bolt it in through the back of the case to put an internal liner in there. And then when you put the perimeter wear plates in, they would actually overlap it so it couldn't come out no matter what. And that way, the chamber itself would essentially never wear. The only wear would be on replaceable parts. So that would be good. I say, the next one I want to build will be designed for production, small scale production. Um, half a ton to a ton per hour, somewhere like that. Probably about a roughly a 12-inch rotor, 12-inch depth of chamber, and that's the evil plan. Significant scale up, and it's going to be pretty big for a single person to just move around by themselves, I would think. Depends on how the weight lays out on everything, and that might be interesting if I put the engine on that end and had the rear set of axles between the engine and the chamber so that it kind of counterweights. Okay.
Apparently, a solar storm is due to hit Earth.
Yeah, it's not that big though. Significant but not dangerous.
Well, I was just letting you know.
Yep. I checked the little thing. It doesn't look like the Aurora will be where we can see them. Is the Eco Gold X an acid or a base? It's basic. It's a moderate basic. It's not mildly, but it's not strongly basic either. I know that carbon and pulp circuits depend on carbon to pull the gold out. That's correct. We're using resin. You could use, theoretically, you could do Eco Gold X with carbon and pulp also. Let's see what this is. First time I bought a new printed t-shirt. Let's see what John saw. Close that. There's John. What the heck? Oh, yeah. We've actually got one of those. You know, the Brave New World Fahrenheit 451? Yeah. You've got one, right?
Yeah, it's in one of my drawers.
Yeah, Eva's got one, and we sent one to Chris Georgie. It is pretty cool. You want to, if it's handy, little one. If not, don't worry about it.
One of the drawers someplace, or it's out in bugs.
Yep.
It's winter.
But yeah, it's a pretty good t-shirt. It's Brave New World, 1984.
Fahrenheit 451.
Fahrenheit 451. And then where all those things overlap, it says "You are here." Yeah. Ooh. Would carbon pull it out of an acid? I don't know. It depends on exactly what the ions are. Carbon will generally precipitate gold out of solutions. And if it was in an acid, it would probably be a chloride, which, you know, natural chlorides are a fairly common sort of thing. Unfortunately, Chris ain't here because he's still out of comms due to infrastructure issues. And how is the truck running? It's running okay. I think I still need to rebuild the carburetor. Once it warms up, it runs good, and we need to get the suspension fixed, but that's planned for next week, and get all the springs rebushed and all that other stuff. If you have carbon in the ore, you're going to tend to have what's known as a preg robbing ore. Once you put the leach solution to it and it starts dissolving the gold is going to tend to go onto the carbon, and you're not going to see it in the leach solution. The solution to that would be either roasting the carbon out, which is very expensive, and or going to a thiosulfate leach. Now, I suspect, I do not know, but I suspect that the Eco Gold X has some thiosulfate and some cyanide, ferrocyanide leaching. But yeah, as I say, the solution to that, if you got a preg robbing thing, is probably best with a thiosulfate leach. Who are those guys in Australia? That gold thing there. Let me see. There's actually a company that was working on that. Let's see. What was that? I don't think that's it. No. Cancel. Let me go to this one. Duh, dumbass. Yep, that's the one. This is Clean Mining Solutions in Australia is working on thiosulfate leaching. But yeah, that's pretty much your solution. Literally, for that is go to a thiosulfate leach. You got it, Rock. So there are ways around it, and you can probably do cyanide leaching in Arizona now. You couldn't in Montana, but a thiosulfate leach has not been banned. I think they use it at Gold Strike in Nevada, a large production scale setup. Okay. But it has been done. It is more expensive, as usual. Oh, are you guys doing good down there, Rock? You happy with what your cores are coming up? I presume are you coring to 2,500 feet, or is that RC? Lars, to remove the manganese, there may be a simple chemical thing. For example, you might be able to take hydrochloric acid and dissolve the manganese. I'm not sure. Chris isn't here. You could email me and I could forward it on to him or a few other people. Coring HQ to 2,500 feet. Man, that's a lot of changing steel. How long can you go before you have to pull it up to retrieve the core? 10 feet, 20 feet? What before you have to pull it up to pull the core and then drop it back down again? I presume you're using 20-foot drill steels. So you're looking at 100. Okay, Honey Bunny says try using hydrochloric acid to clear out the manganese before you do anything there, Lars. I presume you're using 20-foot steels, so you're going to have to put on 100 steels, go 20 feet, then pull out 100 steels, take the core out and do it again. Wire line, pull 10-foot core tubes, takes about 5 minutes. Well, that's not bad. Still a lot of steel in the hole. You got to be careful to make sure you don't get stuck. I presume about how much water does it take to flush that effectively? I was always just doing dry reverse circulation and impact drilling. So I was just blowing chips out. We hit water. That was it. That was the depth that we were going when we did that. How much flushing water do you need to clear that? I presume the worst thing to hit is broken rock or clay, maybe. But I would think broken rock would be kind of heck to get through. Hmm. If you can sometime, could you make a video on that? I think I would be very interested. I've never really watched core drilling. So I'd be quite interested. I imagine other people would be too. I know that you have confidentiality issues that may not allow it, but if you could, I would appreciate it.
Well, he wouldn't have to show where he was.
No, but I say you've got whenever you're doing stuff for other people, they may get very particular about a lot of things. Some may just be paranoia, some may be just an overabundance of caution, and some may be very well justified. Yeah, confidentiality is very important in the exploration business. If if you get a reputation for having loose lips, you're not going to get too many jobs, right, Rock? That's one of those things that's pretty much unforgivable. That'd be cool, honey bunny. Back early. Yeah, I guess so. That was pretty quick. Rock is here now. Oh, by the way, Rock, Tricky Dicky is pulling interesting things out of the ground, but it was encased in stuff that has little things like picric acid mixed in just for fun. Okay, thank you, Mr. Lodak. Well, it can be, honey bunny. The trick is to be chatty about completely inconsequential stuff without making it annoying that you're not giving them any real information whatsoever. Yeah, it's funny to be in a business that has so much subterfuge in it, and then some people just do the craziest stuff. Like, yes, hey, there was that one mine where the mine engineer went and deliberately failed to file the paperwork with the BLM one year for all of the claims these guys had, and then overstaked it himself and thought he was going to get away with that. They came up with an interesting solution to that. They had him go check out a mine down in the middle of South America. And in the middle of the Atacama Desert, they parked the vehicle and said, do you want to quit claim all those things back to us, or do you want to walk home? Yeah, honey bunny, but that's because you're that way. I'm just a nice guy, and I kind of am. It can be a problem, you know. I don't like creating conflict if I can avoid it, but there are times when conflict is not only unavoidable but advantageous and appropriate. But that's how you get someone to discontinue the conversation without telling them anything too. So yeah, it's it can get interesting. Definitely a weird business. Of course, everything is a weird business right now. You're a bad wabbit. Yes, honey bunny, you probably are. Although I think it's supposed to be bad rabbit. Isn't that how Bugs does it? I'm a bad wabbit.
Yeah, something
Yeah.
along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
By the way,
What?
things are getting even more interesting in New Hampshire.
Really?
Due to infighting in the Demon Rat Party, Lord Malarkey will not be on the ballot.
Okay.
Of course, Lord Malarkey is going to win their primary anyway, but
Yeah, honey bunny, sometimes that's the best way to disengage. Where is Chris? Chris right now is basically incommunicado because the new place they moved to does not have internet installed at this time. He is scheduled for surgery in about a week for his tailbone. So, thoughts and prayers are, um, appreciated and stuff. But at the current time, he's doing okay. And he's just not able to communicate very well. He can do by cell phone, and that's about it. So he gets bored. He's called me and Lauren a couple of times since then, mainly to chat, I think, which is fine with me. I like chatting with Chris. But yeah, it's very frustrating to him. But he's still kicking, but he just doesn't have the internet connections, and there's other things that are more urgent in the middle of winter with a new property. So that's it, and we'll see how fast he gets back on his feet. I'll be letting you guys know. Let's see, this is 22nd. Yeah, it's not next week, it'll be the week after. I'll be able to tell you how things went. And so that's what's with Chris. And Lauren quite often does not communicate, but he may be listening to us because he's got his shop set up as the giant Superman cave. But in order to communicate, to post on one of these things, he needs his computer, which is in the house. So it's just not able to interface very well. And so quite often he may be listening, but can't readily uh, communicate, to us. And he can easily call me if he needed to, if it was something important, but he's probably not going to do that unless it was something really important. But that's what's going on with Chris. And Lars is still kicking around. And you still, there you go. Incommunicado, is that near Ensenada? No, it's somewhere up in central California, up in the mountains there. Hey, Lars, are you, Lars was asking for ideas on videos and stuff, and I told him I thought I would like to see just kind of a tour guide of his mine down there. And I would like to, just see a video showing his mine and stuff. Does that sound good to the rest of you guys too? And Bob Malloy, yes, we are in Montana. We are in Helena, Montana. So kind of central western part of the state here. Where are you at? Oh. And if you know anything about Montana, Bob, you will know that there isn't much mining going on at this time of year, unless it's a big mine. So it's kind of slow. My wife will be doing what we call the tinfoil hat report here in a few minutes, where she brings us up on legal stuff and things like that. Oh, okay. We go to Missoula occasionally for medical stuff.
We're going again at the end of March.
Going at the end of March, okay, for your checkup there.
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, if you want to swing by and chat sometime when you're swinging by, just let me know ahead of time. And yeah, we like to we like to chat and stuff.
Yeah, and we like to shop at Bob's Golden Coin and Grizzly Golden Coin.
Uh,
Since I can get them in a bidding war again.
I agree completely, Bob. Yeah, I say that's just one of the things. It's not unusual for people, especially truck drivers. No problem, Rock. Um, there you go, Tricky. He just showed up again. Yeah, Tricky's finding some interesting stuff, Rock, but they've mixed it with some kind of an asphaltic cement with a little picric acid and a few other little things for fun.
Oh man, I want this.
Oh, Bob says, I love Grizzly. I bought my first baseball card for them in the mid-90s. Yeah. No, I say it's not unusual for people who are just going to be driving through the area, whatever, to get a hold of me. And
I love Grizzly, and
then,
we have a Grizzly here.
You know, we just get together and have lunch or something like that or whatever. I'm new to mining and panning. Okay. You've lived in Montana all this time, but you're just getting into the mining stuff, huh? Well, it's a good place for it, that's for sure. And
oh, they've got some gorgeous stuff for making.
So I say we can see when it's warmer, we could even show you some panning or a few things like that. Well, the treasure itself wouldn't destroy itself, just the person finding it. Well, that's a good idea at the end of a long day, Rock. Yeah, Bob, Tricky Dickie's in the Philippines. Rock Butcher is currently in Arizona doing an exploration and drilling job. Yep, that's what Tricky says. That's what they're using to denature the toxic chemicals. That's some nasty stuff. That's correct, Kenneth. I'm still trying to find a really good mother lode, so to speak, right now, but I'm having a fun time looking, and I'm enjoying the people and everything. The winter weather doesn't bother me too much. You know, for a desert rat, I think I've adapted pretty well. But it is annoying not to be able to get much done outside in the wintertime. Although, especially with Lauren, he's always got repair and maintenance stuff or whatever. And so I can stay busy enough that I don't go crazy, which is my problem. I do need to stay kind of busy or I do go crazy. Cool. Miner Jim and a friend of his showed up at Lauren's the other day while I was there and showed me a picture of a nice 6-ounce gold nugget they got on the screen rejects pile where they were working.
Dang.
Oh yeah.
That's a pretty darn big
nugget. It was a nice nugget there. Absolutely. That was a good one.
Quite a noogie.
Yep. Where in general are you mining, Kenneth?
I am going to get canning funnels, dude.
Okay. I put that 60 in the bank. By the way, the bank is now going to be closed at the end of this week. We got to go over by Walmart. Remember this facility is going to be closed and they're moving over there by Walmart. Okay. I just curious what general area.
Well, this is going to be on PayPal. I was just letting you know.
Just telling you. Yep. Because I know I'm going to be going over there sometime and go, oh, crap, they're closed again. Using a trommel, huh? Okay. Clearly a pay streak on good placer. Now we're we're having us a good time. Not getting rich, but I don't know. I think I'm not supposed to get rich. I know that not worrying about it has been a lot better. It's just been a lot more relaxed ever since I tried to get critical mass of money, so to speak. So, just having a good time. As I told Eva, I will love you to Armageddon, which may not be that long. Uh, that's good, honey bunny. Placer has its limits, but Hard Rock has more depth. Why are most geologists dirt pool? I don't know. He said because we're slaves. Okay.
Okay, I now have spare funnels.
Whatever you say, Tricky. I say, I'm just looking forward to seeing you, and Eva will be just thrilled to see those babies.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yep.
Tricky has a gorgeous family.
I have this sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach. You'll be safer over there very shortly than over here, Tricky. The main thing is keep those babies safe and happy.
And don't get blown up.
And don't get blown up or toxified or whatever. Yeah. Keep yourself. Number 2 is keep yourself safe because that's important for the other. Oh, it'd be cool to meet you sometime then, Kenneth. He's been mining here in Montana. Well, he's been mining for over 60 years. Oh, yeah, they sure do, Lars.
I'd love to meet Kenneth.
Yep. Isn't that how you tell if you've got all the gold out? So, Kenneth, what have you enjoyed doing the most? What was the most enjoyable situation you ever wound up in? Me too, honey bunny. M dredging? I'm guessing stream dredging, where you're actually diving in the water. Oh, absolutely, honey bunny. Jean-Francois says, I know a bunch of Quebec geologists. They all left the trade because of the flies. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I can imagine. Well, I wouldn't do too much on the beer part, but yeah, the tails would be cool. Well, good for you, Kenneth. Glad you've had a good time. Yeah, I don't know. I like digging too, honey bunny. I don't mind getting dirty. I don't like getting dirty, but it doesn't bother me a bit. I just like digging. I got, some mole in me or something. I don't know. Sweet. Got a deal, Rock. Rock's suggesting that we get a bunch of us together over beers and stuff. And I said, well, I don't drink too much beer. Rock says, I'll carry your weight with the beers, Keith. No worries.
Am I included, and is there diet soda involved anywhere?
I'm sure we could come up with some diet soda too. Sweet, Tricky. I'm glad you're having a good time doing it too, Tricky. I say, just be careful out there. It's got to be really exciting. It really does. But I say just be very, very careful because, you know, we just want to, we want you to be safe. But yeah, you got a fun job. A little bit stressful at times, I imagine. No, honey bunny, Eva can't do that either. It's bad for her metabolism. Vodka, you know. Yep. Yeah. She's very particular about what goes in her body because her body's very particular about what goes in her body, and she does not like fibromyalgia. And I do not blame her one little teeny bit. It was extraordinarily, it was wonderful to see. That first summer we came up here to Montana when she accidentally showed unexpectedly, not accidentally, unexpectedly showed up on that ridge top where I was at after being in a walker 6 months before, you know. And it's like, I don't know who was more surprised, her or me, but we were both pretty happily surprised with how well she was doing. Kenneth says he got started at 10 years old and is almost 82 now.
Dang.
Yep.
That's a person that I'd like to meet.
By changing her diet, Jean Francois.
Carbs are not food.
Eva, as you may have noticed, is pretty good with words. So she was doing some work where she was writing articles for people. She could write on anything. I was really impressed. One time she had it was a 3,000 word article, I think, on moving from one apartment to another. It's a how to from one apartment to another in London, written in colloquial English.
UK.
UK English. And it took you what? 3 or 4 hours?
Less than 2, actually.
Less than 2 hours. She can do this kind of crap. Okay. And so one of her clients asked her to write a series of articles on the keto diet because he was going to get into these keto supplements and stuff. So she researched it, and she found out that apparently carbs can be inflammatory in some people, and so she went and it's real simple to see if it matters. Just cut your carbs down to less than 25 grams a day. It's safe as can be, you know. And so she did that. And in a month, she was off the prednisone. She was off the Tylenol 3. She was feeling better than she had in years.
I was off all my meds.
And she never gone back. So she's not taking any meds. She, as you've seen, she may not quite keep up with me, but she does some pretty serious hiking when she needs to, you know.
And my type 2 diabetes is under control.
And her type 2 diabetes is under control. But that's all it is, cutting back the carbs. Hi, Jeff. How's it going? How's it going in Florida over there? Here it's been a little bit, we had a cold snap there for a couple weeks, but not much. You know, just 35 below. No, yeah, it's just a low carb diet. It sends you into what they call ketosis, where your metabolism changes. Oh, she also lost what, 60 pounds?
Yeah.
Somewhere around 60 pounds. Yeah. 2 days of that frigid 40-degree temperature, huh? I imagine in Florida they're going, ooh. Yep. Yeah. I bet you that dihydrogen monoxide is still liquid where you're at, huh? Oh. Let's see. Seed oil and most vegetable oils are poison to me. Throws me into depressive moods. Interesting. I hadn't heard the depression thing, but yeah, I've heard seed oils
Absolutely.
and vegetable
And
oils.
keto is really good for depression problems.
Yeah. Yeah, he says they make him. They're poison to him. Yeah, it took you 40 years to figure out because nobody ever told you that might be the problem. Jordan Peterson, same thing, and Michaela, his daughter, they both had same basic issues with as they call it, the standard American diet. SAD. Yeah, it can be really bad to some people. Not too bad for me. Not ideal, but not too bad. Eva, it's horrible.
Yeah, you're glossing over the fact you were pre-diabetic and had non-alcoholic fatty liver disease despite being a healthy weight.
Could
Yeah,
be,
not too bad.
but I didn't feel bad. On the other hand, you were in a walker. Huh. Jean-Francois says half an ounce of alcohol or half a glass of beer drives him into very deep depression. 8 hours after ingestion, and it lasts 24 hours. Well, then I suggest you don't do it, but it's nice to know that. And that's it. Everyone needs to find out what their body needs. And Eva had no idea about this when she found out and then tried it out. The results were extremely dramatic and extremely rapid. So that is really cool. Yeah, she's a keto evangelist.
Actually, you're more of a keto evangelist than I am. I just decided a long time ago that carbs are not food.
I don't like the taste of any alcoholic beverage, Jean-Francois. Anyhow, I guess that somebody's about ready, or you want me to keep going here, little one?
Well, you guys are discussing mining, but
Not to worry.
okay.
Geologists are the only alcohol-based life forms on the planet. I doubt that, Rock. I bet you there's more than that.
Do you want to put the next number down below? Hi, folks.
Oh, I can.
Well, let's see where we've gone since the start of this live stream. Okay, Bear, the last 057.
Just a second.
We're updating things.
Go.
899. And then going too fast to be seen. Hi, everybody.
So we've gained almost $200 million of debt. No.
Yep.
Yeah, $200 million of debt during the live stream.
Yeah, and notice the curve is steepening again. At any rate,
yeah.
You may have noticed there has been like almost no news this week, which is a fantastic thing. We all know this. What was that thing that we were hearing? Oh, yeah. Apparently, we Americans are sadly mistaken. According to The Guardian, that newspaper across the pond there in the UK, according to The Guardian, we just don't recognize a good economy when we see one. Yeah. Nice to know, just saying. Oh, and Lord Malarkey got compared to Ronald Reagan this week. We all know that our beloved Lord Malarkey is, historically speaking, the greatest president in the history of all time. 81 million plus votes says so. And now apparently he's on a par with Ronald Reagan. But at the same time, for some bizarre and unaccountable reason, he's not on the ballot in New Hampshire. Go figure. Perhaps he's planning to not be on the ballot anywhere and just kind of magically become the nominee on the Democrat side. Oh well. The world may never know. We'll find out in some months somewhere. Australian tycoon Forrest shuts nickel mines after prices crash. Yeah, the crashing metals market is going to be doing some interesting things over the next several months here. Wyloo Metals Pty Limited, the private nickel producer owned by billionaire Andrew Forrest, is shutting down its Western Australian mines due to a sharp slump in prices for the key transition metal. The mines near Kambalda will go into care and maintenance from May 31, the company said in a statement on Monday. Wyloo, which bought the mines only 6 months ago, informed BHP Group Limited it won't be able to fulfill a nickel offtake agreement that's due to expire at the end of 2025, a spokesperson added. Prices for nickel, used to make stainless steel and EV batteries, have slumped in the past year, mainly driven by a flood of cheap supply from Indonesia that is threatening to disrupt the industry. Earlier this month, First Quantum Minerals Limited said it will halt mining at its nickel and cobalt operation in Australia and cut a third of the workforce in response to weaker metal prices and higher costs. The closure of Wyloo's Kambalda mines comes after BHP, the world's biggest miner, last week warned it could be forced to write down the value of its nickel to mitigate the crash in prices. Wyloo, which owns assets in Canada and Australia, last year also entered into a joint venture agreement with IGO Limited to produce battery-ready materials at a plant near Perth. Despite the shutdown of the mines, it's studying developing its own nickel concentration in the Kambalda region, Wyloo said in a statement. So, yeah, across the mining world, we're seeing a lot of difficulties happening of late with the really, really big boys. Like First Quantum's ever increasing difficulties in Panama that led to them finally doing what they should have done months ago and throwing up their hands and saying, okay, screw it, bye-bye, we're leaving. And now this business with the nickel crashes due to flooding of resource out of Indonesia. There are rumors that there are still serious problems with cyanide distribution to various mining districts and mining areas within Africa as a continent because for some bizarre and unaccountable reason, there seems to be some corruption going on over there. But, it's not like the goddess would understand anything about that. After all, governments and mining companies are obviously absolutely honorable and trustworthy, especially the Chinese ones in terms of mining companies, and especially the governments in terms of African governments, I guess. So there is that. That is where we are in that regard. So it's not really good. Arubis moves to terminate CEO's contract after copper scam. You gotta wonder about this one. Okay. Arubis AG is preparing to terminate the contract of its chief executive and 2 other executive board members as the copper producer seeks to move on from a giant raw materials scam. The company's supervisory board is in advanced talks with Chief Executive Officer Roland Herrings, Chief Financial Officer Rainer Verhoeven, and Chief Operating Officer Heiko Arnold about ending their contracts. The goddess does have to wonder about this because in the rest of the world, if you happen to be in a criminal conspiracy and committing massive types of fraud and embezzlement, your boss fires you and you end up in jail. But the goddess has doubts that that's going to happen here. Just saying. It may also appoint Marcus Kramer from the supervisory board to the executive board. The move follows Arubis' decision to carry out an independent legal probe into a criminal scam that cost the copper producer about 169 million euros, $184 million last year. Million with an M. The company warned in December it may make executive changes once the review is concluded. The supervisory board will meet and discuss and resolve plans on Tuesday. Arubis' shares fell 4.2% in Frankfurt trading. Arubis sent shockwaves through the European copper industry in August when it said it had been hit by a sophisticated scam perpetrated by suppliers and complicit employees. The fraud, which involved valuable scrap raw materials, followed on from a smaller theft discovered a few months earlier and raised uncomfortable questions about the company's security controls. Herrings and other executives have also faced scrutiny following the death of 3 workers after a nitrogen leak at its Hamburg plant. Oh. So, worker safety issues plus fraud plus criminal behavior. Interesting. The CEO said in October it had overhauled its processes to ensure it would be difficult, if not impossible, for such fraud to occur again. Herrings joined Arubis in 2019 after the company terminated the contract of former CEO Jürgen Schaller due to cost overruns at a major new smelting project. And for anybody who forgot that little scandal back there, what was happening is our Rubis AG happens to be a refiner, a smelter, and they take in scrap materials like e-waste, etc. And um, the numbers started not quite adding up for some reason, and it turned out that a lot of the higher value metals in the scrap they were taking in were mysteriously kind of like getting diverted somewhere, Nothing really unusual, apparently, since it had been going on for some time. But that is where that's going. They're actually going to maybe, possibly even remove 3 members of their executive structure, the C suite dudes. And they might even not get their golden parachutes. The goddess is shocked. The rate this is going, these guys might actually end up worse off than your average JP Morgan executive after they get dragged into court for precious metal price manipulation, which they're due to have that happen to them again, probably at the end of this year or the beginning of next year. Though it might be B of A's turn this time. JP Morgan got dinged with several $100 million in fines last time. So it may be B of A's turn the next time we do this. Meanwhile, the price of gold is sitting at around $2,022, which is good because we're staying up above $2,000. Price of silver is $22.17, so it is on sale. Back up the dang truck. Platinum's at $898, palladium's at $923, and rhodium is still down in the dumps at $4,250, but it came up another $100. So there is that, which is pretty darn interesting. Meanwhile, Republicans and Democrats are teaming up to saddle Americans with more debt. For anybody who missed it, we have had a functioning uniparty and a kleptocracy probably since about the time old Ronald Reagan got into office in like the early 1980s or whenever that was. Okay. The fact that they use a D or an R means functionally nothing when you read the legislation and follow the money. They're all on the same team and it ain't ours. We'll get back to that later. Bullion investors are naturally concerned about unsound monetary and fiscal policy. Many of them buy precious metals in part because they recognize the federal government is out of control when it comes to borrowing and spending. Note number back there on board. This makes the most recent betrayal by the Republicans in the House of Representatives relevant to our leaders and our readers. Last week, the newly installed House Speaker, Mike Johnson, cut a deal with Democrats to pass yet another continuing resolution and keep deficit spending at a level only briefly surpassed during the height of the COVID pandemic. This year's deficit is expected to be about 2.5 trillion with a T dollars. Something unimaginable just a decade ago. The 2014 deficit was unprecedented at 485 billion with B, about 1/5 the current level. Given the recent trajectory, next year's deficit could be more than 3 trillion with a D. It should be noted, by the way, the interest alone on the national debt has surpassed Social Security and the military's budget together. No problem there, right? If the deficits continue expanding unabated, confidence in the US dollar could crater. triggering very high inflation. Really now. Hard choices need to be made in order to avoid such a calamity. Yet the politicians in charge can't even make simple sacrifices. Representative Chip Roy was one of the 106 Republicans who voted against the resolution to spend the amount of money that our government doesn't have. He laid the situation out perfectly on the House floor prior to the vote. Really good speech. You might want to look it up. But at the end of the day, 107 House Republicans collaborated with 207 Democrats to dodge even a minuscule 1% cut in spending. The hypocritical Republicans likely mouthed some commitment to fiscal responsibility and limited government to voters during their last campaign. Don't they always? Voters now know what those commitments are worth. Well, we should, but 3 guesses. Okay? To be fair, hard choices that have to be made in order to balance the budget are only possible in theory. There is no politically viable means for politicians to stop the metastasizing federal debt. The ship sailed a long time ago, and a ship that massive is nearly impossible to turn. Most federal spending is all but untouchable. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and interest payments on the Treasury combined for nearly 60% of all spending in 2023. Defense accounted for another 13%. Given the almost sacred nature of these programs, few politicians dare propose any significant cuts. The goddess is going to make an interjection here because the author's missing a point. We have 2 types of spending that happen: discretionary spending and mandatory spending. Okay? The military budget is discretionary spending. It has to be renewed every year, National Defense Authorization Act per the Constitution. The mandatory spending is all the entitlement programs that never should have been built in the first place. We cannot not spend that money. Okay? So that's just something to remember here. We cannot not spend that money. The only way you can stop spending money on a mandatory spending program like SNAP or Medicaid or Medicare or Social Security is by passing legislation to make the program go bye-bye. Figure the odds of that ever happening with any government program. Good luck. The politicians are fiddling as Rome is so obviously burning. Well, let me put it this way. I have one vice, my diet soda. It ain't going away. Okay. At my age, I have not seen any problems actually with artificial sweeteners. I have seen problems with a lot of other stuff, you know? Just saying. A federal default in some form is inevitable. Technical point here. The federal government officially defaulted in 1913 when we went to fractionalized currency. It's been defaulting ever since. Okay? So just to get that out of the way. The political hacks who want to pretend our government is incapable of default because the Fed can always print the money needed to meet obligations should start telling the truth. They should start by educating people that all money is currency, but not all currency is money. And that thing that says Federal Reserve note, the word note proves it ain't money. It's actually a debt instrument, okay? Just another little note there. They know there isn't any meaningful difference between a debtor that fails to repay versus one who repays in devalued money. In other words, there are 2 ways for our insolvent federal government to screw lenders. The second way, a default through inflation, is more dishonest and less direct than an outright default. No doubt that's why American politicians and central bankers are already embracing this method. The lack of principled leadership in Washington, D.C. is what put us on the one-way road to national insolvency. And absent principled leadership that reinstitutes limited government, the outlook for the Federal Reserve note, dollar, looks grim. Yeah, you could say that. It looks a little bit grim at the moment. However, there is good news. Another half a dozen states or so are forward moving legislation that removes sales taxes from silver and gold. They never should have been there in the first place. And a couple of them are looking at making income taxes on gold and silver in their states also not a thing anymore, which would be really good. Just saying. Kanye West got titanium teeth this week. The goddess has to wonder why Kanye wanted titanium teeth, but Kanye West recently posted a picture of himself on Instagram sporting titanium dentures. In the pose, Yay, as Kanye now refers to himself, referenced Jaws, the iconic James Bond nemesis featured in The Spy Who Loved Me and Moonraker. According to the Daily Mail, the titanium mouthwear costs Yay a cool $850,000. 850,000, and you spelled it wrong. Kanye.
Kanye?
K-A. You got C-A. Silly person. An unidentified source told Today they are, as the name suggests, fixed and permanent. This goes way beyond veneers or grills. His particular implant is quite unlike anything that has been done before. But the source said West did not have his teeth removed. Dear Lord, that looks awful.
Yeah.
So why did Ye choose titanium for his new look? He didn't say. They don't even look like teeth. It looks like he had some solid metal something fitted over his teeth with a couple of little points on them. No grooves, no lands, no nothing.
Looks like a parrotfish.
Yeah, very strange. One would assume it was for the aesthetic, but he could have picked another metal. This got me thinking, what metal would likely offer Kanye the best return on his investment? To figure this out, the guy who wrote this article, I took a look at historical data in the century for 5 different metals. I chose January 2000 as the start date and the spot price on January 19, 2024 as the end date. That will give us a good sense of long-term performance of each metal during this century. Of course, past performance does not guarantee future results. The average gold tooth weighs 3 grams. I multiplied the weight by 28 teeth and calculated a full set of dentures would use about 3 ounces of gold, give or take. Of course, metals have different densities, so the weight of titanium may be slightly different than that of a gold set. But these numbers will at least let us ballpark the cost of this thing. Gold was at $282.05 in 2000. It is now over 2,000. So 623.4% change. Silver was at $5.30 in 2000. 22.82 the day he took his numbers, 330.6%. Platinum was at 414. It's now at 914 for 120% change. Titanium was at 26 cents, and it's now at 16 cents. So it lost 38.5%. Copper was at 5 cents, and it's now 24 cents an ounce. That's 380%. So, based on the metal's performances, titanium was the worst choice if Kanye was looking for a return on his investment. The price is very stable and it's an abundant element. Yep, it is. I'm thinking gold would have been the best choice for good long-term return based on the metal's performance during the 20th century. Copper offered the second best return, followed by silver and platinum. One thing is clear, precious metals historically chart solid returns in the long run. This makes sense when you consider the Federal Reserve and the U.S. government are constantly depreciating the value of the currency. Now, I think everybody should go look up Kanye West's new teeth, because I'll tell you, I certainly would not have paid $830,000 for that mess. It doesn't even look good. I don't know what that man was. Well, actually, I don't know if Kanye does. Yeah, I don't know if Kanye does think, but if he does think, I don't know what that dude was thinking. They look absolutely ridiculous. Wow, Shaggy, you've been having it rough over there. Speaking of which, I think it was in Tennessee. Well, anyway, somewhere over there on the East Coast that had some snow like last week and a little ice storm that doesn't normally get one. The Postal Service suspended deliveries of mail for 6 days because, I mean, like Huntsville, Alabama, or Tennessee, or someplace like that knows nothing about snow, which kind of makes sense. Inflation's back and it's worldwide again. Spoiler alert, inflation never left. It's a feature of fiat currency, not a flaw. Just saying. The holidays are done and inflation is back. After months of mainstream victory laps, including Paul Krugman's famous "inflation's over, we won at very little cost," it turns out inflation's not dead at all, it's not even resting. As my colleague E.J. Antoni put it, inflation ripped the steak out of its chest and loosened a blood-chilling scream. So first, the numbers. The Bureau of Labor and Statistics, who lovingly handcraft our alleged inflation numbers, put out fresh data for December, saying headline CPI went up an annualized pace of 3.7%, which is actually about 1/3 or less what it really went up. But that's another story. That's a problem because it's almost 3 times higher than the previous month, the month Paul Krugman was celebrating. Worse, the CPI is currently running double the pace of last December, a year ago. So transitory is looking a lot longer than it used to. It's even worse on so-called core CPI, which strips out food and energy. That came in at an annualized 3.8%, about a half point higher than the previous month. Finally, the so-called super core inflation, and no, that's not a joke, which the Fed pulled out of its hat to strip out housing costs. That one's doing even worse, hitting almost 5% annualized. That feeling when your fake statistics don't work out. The problem is none of this should be happening since we've just gone through the most savage Fed-induced credit strangle since the 1970s. In fact, in terms of money supply, how much confetti's in existence, it's been the worst Fed-induced credit strangle since the 1930s. Well, what was going on in the 1930s? The goddess just can't remember right now for some reason. So we've got the creeping recession to show for it, as everybody, including the Fed, expected. And yet inflation isn't just undead, it's positively rocking the graveyard. So what happened? 2 things. First, the federal government never actually cut spending. Well, no surprise there. Second, there was so much bank and hedge fund money parked at the Fed as it drained it out, especially the reverse repo. That meant there was plenty of money sloshing around Wall Street. It was only tight for the unwashed voters trying to, say, pay down a house or pay down their credit card. The federal spending in particular has been eye-watering. In fact, just hours after the BLS inflation report, Janet Yellen rolled up with her bag of goodies, reporting the federal deficit for December soared to $130 billion in a single month. Yes, indeed. For perspective, the typical budget deficit during the Trump years was on the order of $20 billion. Under Biden, it was $80 billion last year. Now it's $130 billion a month. And there goes another year to go. Maybe more if the dead vote swings blue again. Which reminds me, note to self, must go check the Arizona Secretary of State and see whether they finally got the 2 of us off their voter rolls. Because we've only been trying to get off their voter rolls since January of 2021. Just saying. Later in the week, we got further confirmation from British inflation numbers, which showed us the first rise in almost a year. It's worth noting Reuters' economist survey had expected inflation to go down over there, not up. Throw in rising inflation rates in Canada and the Eurozone, and inflation is now rising pretty much across the West. The goddess has to wonder whether it's dawned on our allies yet. America's #1 export is inflation. Thanks to us with the petrodollar thingy widget gizmo and being the US world reserve currency thingy going on there. Okay. Now, the UK has been a canary in the coal mine since it had gone up so bad these past few years, even worse than the US. In fact, early last year, official food prices in the UK were running 20% inflation. Official. At this point, British food is still running 8%, but the big surprise was everything else: services, transport, recreation, stuff you drop on your foot, stuff you don't. Airfares were up 60% on the month. Clothes went up when they normally collapse post Christmas. Live music, holidays, theater, it's all up. In fact, services rose to 6.4% annual inflation, which is a problem since they make up the majority of what British people buy. This mirrors what's been happening across the West. Indeed, the same FT article notes what I've been saying in videos. There's essentially zero progress on inflation outside energy, which is driven by looming recession and the winding down of Mr. Putin's war. Why hasn't inflation gone anywhere? For the simple reason that obscene government spending has continued across the West. Interestingly enough, surging inflation hasn't really changed market expectations of rate cuts. That's weird since normally you'd expect central banks to not cut rates if inflation was rampant. There are a number of hypotheses why. Perhaps the Fed is so afraid of recession, it'll just let inflation rip to knock down those coming unemployment headlines. Of course, there's a much darker possibility. Perhaps the Fed isn't actually looking at inflation or the economy, because what they're afraid of is the stability of the financial system itself. As in, the Fed and its minion central banks are desperate to cut rates, even in the face of inflation, because the alternative is a financial collapse too big to bail out. After all, high rates were what crashed all those banks back in March, and they never really fixed it. They just papered it over. Indeed, the Wall Street Journal notes most cases when central banks slash rates to the degree markets currently expect are driven precisely by some form of financial panic. Central banks across the West have painted themselves into the mother of corners, potentially facing durable global stagflation for the first time in 50 years. This time paired with a financial crisis that would make it a combination not seen since the 1930s. In that regard, the goddess notes that at the current time, the American banking system is currently holding the bag on almost 700 billion with a B dollars in unrealized losses that we know of. The nature of those unrealized losses in this case is the fact that they were forced at regulatory gunpoint to put so much money into buying U.S. treasuries. And people may have noticed U.S. treasuries are a really shitty investment at the moment. Just saying. It should also be noted that the housing market is beginning a slow implosion across the country. The average time houses are on the market doubled again this month over last month. Houses are not selling the way they were. And in a lot of places, they're going through 2 or 3 or even 4 price cuts before they sell, which means a whole lot of people who bought during that really hot market last year and were sitting on tens of thousands of dollars in supposed equity on paper may suddenly find themselves underwater here. It should also be noted that at the same time, a large number of people with student loan debts, private student loans, have just simply not been paying them since, the interest started being charged again. A lot of them don't have the money at all. Others are not paying them because they put in the paperwork to get their loans forgiven by Lord Malarkey and company, totally illegally and unconstitutionally, both. Not just unconstitutional, illegal. Just saying. American consumer debt is at its highest point per capita in the history of our entire country. And that's not including cars and houses. That's unsecured debt. Okay. That's your credit card debt. And people are beginning to have trouble paying those credit card bills, which is rather interesting. And somebody did a breakdown this past week, finally, on the fantasy numbers rolling out of the Bureau of Labor and Statistics regarding unemployment and figured out that, yeah, if the numbers are anywhere right and people are actually looking for jobs that are claiming they're looking for jobs, there's about 20 or 30 underemployed, 20 or 30 million underemployed or unemployed individuals that are directly trying to compete for about 5 million decent jobs. The rest of them are people that are working 2 or 3 part time jobs now, which is why our labor numbers have been looking a little weird lately. Go figure how that happens. And then there's the matter of auto loans. I don't know how your auto facilities, your car lots are looking around your town, but we have a Subaru dealer down the road here that took 18 months to get built because it was during COVID madness and there were no supplies. Once they got it built, it's got a nice big main lot and it has 2 smaller overflow lots. At the moment, the main lot is full to the point where there are even cars parked in the areas you'd normally drive in between cars. They need to play that little traffic jam game to get vehicles out to take them on test drives, if anybody wants test drives. And their 2 overflow lots are filled as well. Every car lot in town, plus the 1 pawn shop in town that takes vehicles, has a metric crap ton of vehicles for sale because people can't get financing. And if they can get financing, people can't afford financing. Rather odd how that works. So, yeah, our banks have a little bit of a problem on their hands because over the next 3-month period, these banks that got forced at regulatory gunpoint to invest money in U.S. treasuries are looking at either having to sell said treasuries at a huge loss or roll over said treasuries at equally crappy interest rates and hope and pray that by the time those treasuries mature, because these aren't the huge 10, 20-year ones, these are the short term ones, by the time they mature, maybe inflation will have gone down, you know. It's possible. It might happen and monkeys might fly out my butt, but it might happen. You never know. So that is where we are. We have a little bit of an issue going on in our banks. It might also interest you to know that the number of banks standing in line at the short-term loan window there at the good old Federal Reserve with hat in hand temporarily went vertical last month, but I'm sure that's not going to be too much of a problem. And both the FDIC and the NCUA, the 2 shadow organizations that purportedly insure your deposits in banks, are kind of sitting on the data as to what percentage of deposits are insured. The last data the goddess saw indicated that they had gone from 1.3% reserves to cover any potential claims down to about 1.1% reserves to cover potential claims. Of course, that's really not a problem because according to them, if a bank does crash and they need to pay everybody's insurance claims, they can just get the money from Congress. Think about where Congress gets the money from. Just saying. So that's the way that goes. It's going to be an interesting year because this year we have a selection. An election, sorry. Well, we have the surface appearance of an election, potentially even a Potemkin election. I mean, yeah, we can go with that one, Potemkin election. You may have noticed that Ron DeSantis suspended his presidential campaign and endorsed Donald Trump. And Vivek Ramaswamy suspended his campaign and endorsed Donald Trump. And Nikki Haley has been putting out her little she's been on the road with her bad fashion sense and her pity me because it was so difficult growing up as a brown woman in the South speech, planning to win the nomination. Maybe. Just saying. And if anybody follows Cat Turd 2 on Twitter, Tucker did an amazing interview with Cat Turd. Totally worth watching. That was good. And as always, premiums are holding fairly steady across the country. And the big dealers online are slicing their premiums on American Silver Eagles again. So if you go shopping online and you go and you compare, sign up for the emails at like moneymetals.com and SD, S is in Sam, D is in David, bullion.com, etc. You can get American Silver Eagles a couple of times this week. They were going for as low as $2.99 over spot. No limit. Okay. Costco is still selling silver and gold at dang near spot. They were selling tubes of American Silver Eagles, limit 2 tubes, and it was like $1.99 over spot a couple of days there last week, which was really good. Walmart.com, once again, has ridiculously amazing prices, and now they're getting gold from AppNext. If you buy on Walmart.com, be sure you are buying from the official Walmart.com site. It will say shipped from AppNext because there's a lot of third-party sellers, just like Amazon. Walmart.com is now being overrun with third-party sellers who are scammers, okay? But if you buy from AppNext through Walmart, not only is it cheaper than the AppNext website, but you're not paying a 3% credit card fee at Walmart. And if you've got that stupid Walmart Plus thing, or you have a Walmart credit card, that Walmart One thing they're doing now, you can actually get 2 or 3% cash back on their website buying gold and silver on top of a dang good premium and not having to pay a fee for using a credit card. So we're doing really well there with Walmart. The goddess has her doubts about this. There's only one Walmart in town, and I do actually have to shop at Walmart, but they're not my favorite people. But this time, you can actually get something good at freaking Walmart, which is ridiculous. But that's the way that's going. And yeah, you bet I'm happy. Absolutely. Just back up the truck on that kind of stuff. You know? If Montana Bee was mine, actually what I want to do, if I had my dream and I won the lottery, it would be a patented silver mining claim that also had some gold. And we'd have nice little, like camping trips where people could come and stay with us for a week and mine things and refine your own silver and gold and go home with your own little silver and gold things. That's what I want to do. But that's just, Shaggy, our Walmart yesterday had all kinds of weird empty spots on the shelves. And eggs have gone up again, by the way, at Walmart. Eggs went up again. But lately they have been having some weird shortages and some weird things that were being sold out. And their clearance section has grown, which was something to see. I mean, unfortunately, nothing in it. Actually, honey bunny, I'm looking at little poured bars, little poured things like that. Not necessarily Yeah, and moles. Gold moles and silver moles. I want moles. But that's just me. But anyway, so yeah, the places to go if you're looking for privacy, take fiat currency, go to a local coin shop. Find out what the limits are in your state to avoid having paperwork written up. But it's a good way to turn the used to be good looking but is less good looking now toilet paper into a real asset, doing it that way. Second best option is doing a lot of shopping around online. Sign up for all of the big guys' newsletters, the emails, push notifications on the phone, because a couple of people this week scored really good deals where they were able to get, like a tube of American Silver Eagles at spot. Every once in a while, all of these big bullion dealers online will put some form of silver or some form of gold for sale in a push notification on the dang phone for spot. And you have to act fast. But, if you don't worry about privacy, if you want to use credit cards, then you're going to want to stick with either the bullion companies direct, APMEX through Walmart, or the bullion companies through Amazon. Be very careful on Amazon and make sure you are only buying from actual legit companies. The same is true on eBay, because counterfeiting is going up phenomenally. Now, at the moment, lesser American coinage is not being targeted directly by China, okay? But the quality of the counterfeit Morgans, the counterfeit American Silver Eagles, the counterfeit Peace Dollars, the counterfeit Maple Leaves. Yeah, I saw a counterfeit Maple Leaf. Can you believe that? Yeesh, ridiculous. Is really getting good. You have to watch out for this stuff. And more of it is infiltrating Walmart through the third party sites, Amazon through the third party sites, and eBay through the third party sites. When you run into these people, report them everywhere. If they are selling fake American coinage and it is not clearly marked with the big word copy on it, report them, please, for counterfeiting. Because heaven knows, Amazon has proven that they ain't going to do jack shit about this. eBay has proven they ain't going to do jack shit about this either. So we need to report them. Pawn shops are pawn shops can be really good. The one here in town, I can routinely get sterling silver jewelry down there, melt, and sometimes lower. I mean, pawn shops can actually be really good for a few things. But you have to know your pawn and you have to know your metals. And yes, some local coin shops can also be fooled if they do not test. I mean, our coin shop has gotten a few counterfeit things in big lots that they bought from wholesalers online. They get a lot of like 500 Cole Morgan silver dollars and they find one or two fakes in there. That happens, you know? But the thing is, precious metals are still on sale and premiums are still low, which is a very good reason to divest thyself of some of these fiat debt instruments and get real money. And while you're at it, don't forget to stock up the freezer and the fridge and things like that. Because, yeah, food prices are not going to necessarily stay stable. With the current situation going on in the Red Sea type area and the abysmal failure of the whole Prosperity Guardian or whatever the name of that thing is, shipping is getting more and more disrupted. And the first place that's going to hit is oil prices. Oil prices are already beginning to ratchet up on that. And when fuel goes up, everything else goes up. So that is something to say about that. But at any rate, let us hope that we have yet another entirely uneventful news week. Well, mostly uneventful news week. Just saying. And if you don't hold it, you don't own it. Bye bye.
Ooh, I just thought of a good one. You don't hold it, you don't own it.
Oh, really?
Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that.
Yep. Uh,
Goofball.
oh, yeah. Anyhow,
Goofball now.
so
Get
that's
back
where
into
we're at.
something mining.
Well, hopefully we will. Anyhow, so that's basically the news for this week, etc. And I say I'm not going to have a whole lot for you guys in terms of mining stuff for a while because I just doing a lot of other things. As you can see, we're rather concerned about the immediate situation, and so we're spending a fair amount of time on that and staying informed and things like this, and essentially trying to predict the future while not stressing out too much, which can be kind of difficult. um, let's say so. We shall see what we shall see, but not a whole lot new. Um, the impact mill seems to be fixed and working fine. We haven't had a chance to even throw anything through it. Just got it out of the shop and brought the next thing in and go from there. So, anyone got any questions or anything? Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, Tricky, but as I say, what's important is you and your family. We'll figure out a way to get by. We're doing fine so far, but we would like to see you. That would be really nice. And I'm not, looking a gift horse in the mouth or whatever, but I say I'm very glad that you're having a good time and life is interesting and exciting. What's the impact mill's drum? My impact mill chamber is about 24 inches across, I think. Let me check. That might be the size of the backing plate. Let's see here. Because I have these are a set of plans right here. I have a. I do have an index. Impact chamber, page 14. Come on, there it is, 14. These are instructions, but no. Where's the diagrams? Okay, where's the diagrams? Drawing list. 8B. Okay. Should be here pretty close. Okay, that's 24 inch. So the actual chamber is going to be 20 inches across. Okay. So it's an octagon 20 inches across. The backing plate is 24 inches across. Used for mounting and things like that. So it's a 20-inch chamber. And the next one I want to build should be 12 inches deep. Take care, Shaggy. Yeah, I'd say the one that I've been using myself was the first prototype. It's running about 200 pounds an hour with a 6-inch chamber. Take care, Tricky. Have a good week and a safe week. Kiss the babies.
Kiss the babies, Tricky.
So, say I'm pretty sure that a 12-inch wide one should run about 400 to 500 pounds an hour, classified 60 mesh minus, and expel it. You know, shouldn't be a problem. Probably be a little bit finer grind too, because of the way the stuff works its way from the feed to the exhaust. Uh, it is nice having parts cut with a CNC plasma because you don't worry about cutting more parts too much. You hard face the hammers / chains. No, there's not actually hammers. The rotor itself, show you a drawing here. It's a side one on the rotor. How's the end one? Come on. Oh, further frazzle. There's parts. Okay. Basically, this is the end view of the rotor itself, and there are additional wear plates bolted on that are easy to take off. And there are, because you have flat surfaces here, the edges tend to be the wear areas. So it makes it real easy to hard face the part that you need to hard face. If you're looking a side view, basically, this is the rotor in the chamber with the wear plates. These are wear plates here. Okay. And so you can see this and this is where you're going to get all the wear. And so you can hard face and re-hard face those areas. And then if you hard face it and then flip it 180 degrees, you got another set of edges to do. So you can take the cover of the mill off and replace, either rotate or replace the parts in less than half an hour. And you're back to thing. Let's see about the chamber itself. If I got a good view of that. That's the cover. This is the cover for the chamber. Got a bit of a grizzly. You feed it in here. This is the opening where the ore is fed into the mill. It's near the center of the axis of rotation. And so what it does is suck air in there, and the whole thing acts like a blower so that the ore is then blown out. See if I gotta have one. Belt guard. I have a feeling it's further in there. Well, this gives you an idea what the whole thing looks like. When you're done, you have this chamber, and the rotor is spinning in here, being fed from the opposite side, beats things all to heck, and then blows it out here. And that's how the material is discharged through this classification tube, so that anything that's too large in diameter just drops naturally back into the mill. Let's see if I can get a better view of the actual chamber. Yeah, there we go. Here's the actual chamber, and it's after that's all welded up, then all of this is lined with wear plates with bars on them. Again, a lot of that is to focus the wear into a particular spot so that you can hard face it easily. The edge of the wear bars are what you hard face, and the rest of the wear plate wears very, very slowly relative to that. Actually, I sell those plans along with the complete instructions, 50 some pages, for $100. And yes, I do intend to fabricate more. What's the max feed size? It's set for a 1/2 inch minus. That's what the Grizzly is. That seems to work pretty fine. Plus, you have to worry about what happens if you get a chunk of steel in there that gets past your, through your jaw crusher or whatever you're doing there. So you don't want something to. The internal clearances are about 1/4 of an inch from the rotor tips to the wear plates, or actually the striker bars on the wear plates. And say the whole thing is designed for ease of maintenance. When you are beating the crap out of quartz, your wear rate on steel is pretty high. My first prototype I made out of just standard carbon steel plate and bar and everything. And with the hard facing, it did a pretty good job. However, the one I built for Jimmy, I found a local here who does CNC plasma cutting, and for $300 fee, basically, he put all these parts into his computer. I have it all on a CAD program, and so he just cut it out CNC. So all we had to do is essentially align and weld things, and that worked out pretty well. And we did that because it was CNC plasma cutting, no drilling, no cutting, no grinding. For us, all the holes and everything were plasma cut. We did it out of T1 plate, which should be substantially lower wear rate, but still it's designed for hard facing. That's the purpose. And so that's what it was designed for. I've done enough crushing and grinding at that point that I knew what I wanted to do. And so I specifically designed that mill to do those things. The dust is pretty easy to control. Yeah, that mill with the hard facing, it's hard to do. I was only doing, what was it? About 500 pounds a batch or something like that. So it's kind of hard to say, but I mean, we're probably I would say that you should be able to um, run 5 to 10 tons before pulling parts and re-hard facing. It may be a lot more. It depends a lot on the hardness of your material, the abrasiveness. But with quartz and stuff, you should be able to do 5 to 10 tons, I would think, before having to pull them out and re-hard face it. As a general rule, my thought would be, um, first of all, your impactors wear faster than your liner plates. So my thought is what it'll probably do, yeah, quartz conglomerate is going to be pretty abrasive, would be to have everything hard faced and ready to go initially. Run it until the hard facing starts wearing into the metal on the rotor wear plates. Pop those loose, rotate those 90 degrees, 180 degrees, and rebolt them back on. That's only going to take you, with an impact, 15 minutes start to finish before you're back in operation again. And so then you can run until those are wearing into the metal, and that would probably be about another 5 tons. By then, you may need to change out your wear plates also. Each wear plate is held in by 1/2 inch bolt. So again, with an impact mill, you should be able to do the whole change out in roughly an hour, start to finish. You don't even really pull the cover plate. You loosen the top bolt, then you take out the other three, swing it around, put one of them in so it just keeps it up there like that. And that gives you good access to the inside without having to pick up the heavy um, end plate. And I'm going to have to think. I say we're going to start this next design with a clean sheet and see whether or not I want the end plate basically to have um, be one piece, or whether I want the feed chute to be a separate piece that's bolted on. So when that end plate wears out, you just unbolt the feed chute, unbolt the end plate, which is just an octagon with 4 holes in it and a slot. That's it. Plus probably 4 holes for bolts, and those holes are threaded. So then you just undo 4 bolts, bolt the feed chute onto the new one, put it in place, and you're back in business. You know, and but that's the whole purpose, is to make it easy to maintain with good access to the parts and this and that and the other. Now, this next one will probably have the rotor itself will probably be set screwed to the shaft. I found when I wanted to do some maintenance on some things, it was kind of a pain in the butt because I had to pull the bearings on the shaft and the pulley on the shaft and everything to get that rotor out because it was a welded assembly. Tricky has been doing stuff where his rotor is basically set screwed to the shaft, big set screws and everything. But that might be an advantageous. Oh dear. That's sad, Kevin.
What?
My deepest condolences.
What happened?
Kevin's dad is apparently dead.
Oh no.
You know. How are you handling it, Kevin? You doing okay? How about the rest of the family? I think that's the The implication there, honey bunny. I know Gordon was getting a little bit on in yours, and I think both Kevin and Gordon had some uh, health issues, if I'm not mistaken. One's the father, one's the son. I'm not absolutely certain which is what. I think Kevin is the son, and Gordon was the father, but I'm not. I'm not certain on that. My memory isn't what it used to be, and even then, names were not my forte. But anyhow, Kevin, I say that's sad. But I say I'm kind of concerned. How are you doing? I know that life has been a little challenging for everybody over there. So while I wait for a reply, anyhow, so my thought is now to design it so that the part of the rotor that actually holds all the impactors and stuff is just set screwed to the shaft. See how that works? Oh dear. As I said, how are you doing, Kevin? Um, and that way, that again, it's something that in some ways makes things simpler and also allows you to just take it apart and replace something if you need to. Um, my thought is that it'll be easier to go to a bigger shaft and put all the bearings on the outside on the back of the chamber than it is to put a carrier bearing in the cover plate too, because then that you got a bunch of other things that you have to deal with whenever you take that cover plate off, and you have to take the cover plate off anytime you're going to be maintaining it, and that's going to be, if you're really running it, once or twice a week, and that's not even just for inspections. That's good. I'm glad you're doing okay, Kevin. My dad died when I was like a year and a half old. My stepdad died when I was 20 something. It was good. Okay, Trevor. I've still got one set left, and the whole thing should be in the computer at the print shop there. So I should be able to get more uh, put together pretty easy. I also have to double check and make sure certain of these things are the latest one. I'm pretty sure they are. Let's see. Yep, 1 1/4. That would be the last one. Yeah, exactly. You take care, Trevor. Oh, but like anything else, when you invent something and then you use it for a while, you always find things that you could tweak a little better. And so that's why I'm planning on making a heavy duty bob mill. Yes, I do, Jeff. I use my RC46, um, and it. I will screen the ore before putting it in the RC46 for two reasons. Number one, increases throughput, and two, secondly of all, if there's any moisture in it, it'll increase the rate at which whatever I throw in the mill goes through it, because the 1/2 inch plus just feeds a lot better. 1/2 inch minus, it tends to, if it's got moisture at all, it tends to pack and stick, and it's just a giant pain in the ass. So that's what I do. I'm usually getting about half of the material just screened to 1/2 inch minus and move it on. Man, you said that the truck isn't too badly damaged, though, correct, Gordon? Or Kevin? Sorry. Uh, but as I say, I use the RC46 for that, and it gives me 3/8 minus, maybe quarter-inch minus. Depends on exactly what I'm crushing, but it does a pretty good job, and I can basically screen and crush 1,000 pounds an hour, you know, and then it's ready to go through the impact mill. Whichever one I use will take the same feed size, no problem. So I say that's not an issue, but that's what I use. I've got the RC46. If you're getting just a jaw crusher for a roughly 1 ton an hour mill, you're probably going to want like a 6x8 or an 8x10 to make sure that's not your bottleneck. And if you had like a 6x8 or an 8x10 with screened crushing to half-inch minus, that should give you a ton per hour without too much. That's not bad, honey bunny. Oh, I'm getting fairly geezerized myself, but I'm still doing pretty good compared to a lot of people my age. I'm still got good strength, endurance, and very minimal pain, which is good. A lot of people my age have a lot more chronic pain, so I'm very happy about all that. And that's another reason Eva wants me to do my diet well. I have dodged a couple of bullets, so. Uh, I'm looking for something here. Pretty much, I don't think we have a lot of choice, Noble. I think I was watching a video today where a guy was making a good case that he thinks the Democrats want Donald Trump to be the opponent because they think the only thing they've got to win is vote against Trump is their whole plan, and it makes sense to me. I think they they're misestimating the situation. Whatever. I have never used a Damson and Moore sampler. Is that a type or just a brand name? Damson and Moore sampler. Split spoon. Let's see what it looks like. Wow. It's blurring it. Huh. 3-inch OD split spoon sampler. Properties of a split spoon sampling device. Okay. Nope. I have not used one of those.
Does it look good?
Probably not as good as a Jones splitter, just because of the amount. Goes on a drill rig, yep.
Huh.
Uh, so what would you say, Rock? Um, would you say, in general, for the kind of stuff we do, a Jones splitter would be substantially better because you can put a much larger sample through it? Say this is, it looks like a split spoon would be designed for a pretty homogeneous sample already, but perhaps I'm uh, wrong. So I would go with a Jones splitter for the kind of stuff we do, where you're putting basically a bucket of sample and trying to get it down to like a pound or so. So I've got a plan for Jones samplers too, but I'm not sure if Coulter is still making them, but I know somebody tried to buy one from Coulter and he wasn't anymore at that time. He was having problems for whatever, but I say I got a plan for a Jones splitter too that required just simple sheet metal fabrication techniques, and you can make a splitter that splits it from one bucket into two buckets real well. Yeah, I've seen those, Honey Bunny. Punch a hole in the ground and then stick the probe in, and it measures things. Oh, oh goodness. I'm wondering how well the compaction study works depending upon the kind of soil that you're testing. It would seem to me that it's essentially testing the shielding ability of the soil, and that would vary a lot depending upon the constituents of the soil. But I do not know. What is a blow count? I'm unfamiliar with the term, Adam. Okay. I understand that. That's a penetration test. Yep. Huh. Well, certainly. Well, and you also have to have a standardized blow, which is where a drop hammer comes in handy. You know? Yeah, there's all kinds of types of testing you need to do to make things work properly. I mean, imagine how much fun it is to research the geology for a dam and make sure, probably Rock, um, to make sure your dam isn't going to fail. There's a strong bias towards wanting that site to work because there's relatively few sites that are suitable for building a dam, but then you have to check to make sure the geology will reliably support the dam. And that's one reason I really wouldn't want to be like a civil engineer or an aeronautical engineer or something like that, where if I misplace a decimal point, a lot of people can die, that just would make me very difficult to get a good night's sleep. You know, I, first of all, that's not my forte. That's just not the sort of thing that I'm good at. You worked on a dam a mile underground. Was that just a dam to control water in a mine, or was that something different? Well, that's unfortunate, honey bunny. That's what happens. Yeah, I would not, let's say, want to work in a job like that. You know, like say Boeing, where if you forget to put a few bolts on, doors blow off. I don't know if you've heard, but they're now uh, checking the 737 ERs to make sure all those door plugs are properly installed with the right bolts in the right places. Well, pick your college properly, Rock, too, and that could get quite interesting. You know, the research project, it might extend a lot farther than you originally anticipated. Yeah, but honey bunny, everything's radioactive to some extent.
Your blood's radioactive. Just saying.
I'm getting the feeling, Noble, that you may be seeing something I'm not. I'm not sure what you're replying to there, although I don't disagree with the basic philosophy that you're stating, but I'm wondering, what are you replying to? Is it something I said, or was it a comment that I'm not seeing for some reason?
Or it might have been a non sequitur.
I don't know. I'd like to go. I really would like to go back to school and learn some more stuff, but you know, time to do so is kind of limited. But I would really like to do that in the next few years while I've still got some strength. We'll see how my brain's doing too. It's getting harder to retain stuff than it used to be by a substantial amount. I presume Honey Bunny would go to, you know, Arkansas or something, because she's talking about Sarah Huckabee, and I think that's the governor of Arkansas.
Yeah, the governor of Arkansas.
So I presume it'd be like Arkansas State or something like that.
Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
Yes, I'm wondering what's going on. University of Arkansas. Yeah, Nick Zentner's pretty good too. So I'm finding I just don't have enough time to watch everything I'd like to, and still watch the stuff that I feel I need to keep properly informed. Yeah, I don't know, Poker Face, though. It's hard to say what's going to happen, so we'll see. Right now, I'm having a good time. Nick Zentner's pretty good at, what is it, Central Washington University or something like that?
Yeah, I believe it is.
Yeah, he's pretty good. He does some nice videos. He's got a pretty good teaching style. I can recommend his channel too.
Chris Ralph has had some good videos lately.
Chris Ralph is getting better at making videos too. His first ones tended to be kind of repetitive and boring, but he's getting much better at making an interesting lesson and not being boring and stuff. So I can recommend there.
The way you phrased that was just so wrong.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all, Rock. Plus, she's got a lot of field experience. So that allows you to apply all of that knowledge to the other studies, whereas somebody who's trying to do it all at once instead of in stages, they're trying to, you know, shove it all in there at, you know, at a high rate of speed. Whereas if you've already been working in the field for years and then you're just going to an upgrade, you got a lot of that stuff down already, you know? So that's a good thing. Is she enjoying it? Yeah, Chris Ralph used to be more repetitive than he is now by a substantial margin. Yeah, that's great, Rock. That's so important. I mean, I know Eva would really enjoy going back to school too. Right now, I think we're both, not all of us in the planet here, but we're both awfully distracted by external circumstances right now. And that makes it difficult to focus on studies and things like that. PSW. Do I have a microscope? Not right now, I don't. We're planning on getting a digital microscope, basically with a screen.
We have a microscope.
I have a little pen microscope. I have loops. I can see up to about 40 power.
A microscope at the lab.
Yeah, we have a little kind of hobby microscope and stuff. What is that? 40 power too?
Yeah.
Something like that. Yep. I used to have a pretty nice mineralogical microscope, and that was very nice. You know, it was. I think it had 3 objectives, and it went up to like 120x, and I really enjoyed it. You know. Let's see, where's the. That's right. I think it's out at the mine. At the thing, isn't it? I got one in.
I think all the microscopes.
I think there's 2 out of 1 or 2 out at the mill, and the other one's in my backpack. Me too, honey bunny. A good microscope is very, very valuable. Absolutely. But I just can't justify it at the current time. If we actually get a good ore body in production, I think I can easily justify the expense to the claim owner and stuff. And you know, we'll keep our eyes open. What's the difference between a binocular magnifier? That's what I would think would be I think what I was thinking was a mineralogical microscope, but it's 2 things, and I don't know. Let's see. Those look like, I think what you're telling, those look like transmission ones there. Petrographic, no. Cross polarizing, no. Don't need that.
I don't mind my microscope at all.
Doesn't matter. And more like this one. I'm sure that's going to be something. Yeah, it's not going to show. I think I understand the distinction you're trying to make. Um, you're looking at transmission type stuff for thin sections. I'm talking about first surface reflecting microscope sort of thing. Exactly, Rock. Yep. I don't know, Adam. I know how it looks under reflection, and I know how it looks under scanning electron microscope, but that's all. It would be nice if. Yeah, yeah, Rock. I agree. They're extremely valuable in terms of working. I agree, Noble. They're pulling out all the stops, but their concept of not wanting Trump in the White House in their minds may be different from not wanting Trump to be the Republican nominee for them to run against. They hate him so much. I think that
Alex Soros threatened his life.
I think they believe that they can convince people to vote against him a lot easier. You know?
Well, I mean, Alex Soros.
Yeah, Alex Soros posted a tweet with basically it had a bullet hole and $47 in currency being held out there. So shoot 47. Yeah, that sounds.
That was after his speech at Davos saying that if Trump gets back in office, the new world order is going to have a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're going to get a microscope, you want one that looks at the surface of the rock, not to go through a standard microscope like you'd buy a normal. Is designed to look through things. It has light on the far side, and that's called a transmission. And you want a reflection scope, where you're looking at the surface of something near you. I don't think they want to let him get to the election, in my opinion, Jeff. I don't think they want to take the chance. That's one of my big concerns. My calculations are, and this is a long way out, so it could be way off, but my calculations are, as everything they're doing goes south on him, he's going to do nothing but get stronger. And so the only way they can win the election is either to eliminate him from competition, either by putting him in jail or just putting him underground, or else not having a real election. They may have something that they call an election. I mean, Russia has the USSR had elections. North Korea has elections. Venezuela has elections. That doesn't mean they're a free choice of the people. They had some guy, was that in Georgia? Where they were, and this is funny because this was
hacking into the.
Yeah, this is a Democrat that's contesting an election run by, against a Republican governor, and they had an expert there talking about the Dominion systems, and they brought one into the courtroom. The guy hacked into it with a pen in 5 minutes and changed the vote totals.
Yeah, and they did the same thing during the first elections after 2020 in Georgia, and the judge completely ignored it.
2 A-10s and 4 Blackhawks, huh? Yeah. It's getting interesting down there. The A-10s may just be practicing because the A-10 training center is in Tucson. So that wouldn't surprise me at all if they were doing training missions there. Border Patrol and Sheriff's all over. Well, yeah. It's a frickin' invasion, Rock. Stay safe down there.
Yeah, we to live down there.
When you go back to Kanukistan, you can tell your folks up there what it really looks like down here. Yeah, that I would agree with that, Jeff. I don't think Biden's going to be on the ticket. Again, this is just my speculation. I think they want to keep Biden in until he's locked up the nomination and the voting is over. Then he'll withdraw for medical reasons and they'll put whoever the hell they want in there. You know? Something big happened today, huh? It could have been a big smuggling attempt or something too, Rock. I don't know.
Well, there's always all kinds of stuff happening.
They may very well try, Adam. The indications are that they would love to do so, because if they do that, in terms of if there's some states that allow non-citizens to vote in the presidential election, such as Arizona is planning to do.
Arizona does.
You know, if nothing else, it just muddies the waters. You know, if they lose, well, we don't know who won anyway, so I guess we'll just have to keep who we got. I don't know. I've never seen a situation like this. You know, it just has me very uncertain, I think is the best way to put it. I don't know. I don't have any real predictions except it's going to get worse before it gets better. Okay. Yeah, there were some really interesting statistical anomalies, Adam. Absolutely. What does the pick me up hand sign look like, Rock? Yeah, there were some very interesting anomalies in the last election, Adam. As things did not go the way they normally do. I doubt it, Honey Bunny. I think they just knew that he's military because he knew the hand signals. Somebody's calling.
Your brother, maybe?
Hey, Chris, how's it going? Yeah. How you doing?
Hi, Chris.
Just a second here. Let me see where the microphone. I think the microphone's here. Try it now.
Hi,
Can anyone hear that?
you haven't got the microphone on.
I think this is the microphone.
No, I mean on your phone. Your speaker is not up.
Pardon? Don? Don Red Wing. Okay. Red Wing Mine, if you happen to be here, Chris would like to hear from you someday here. He's boring. Okay, thank you, Rock. Everyone seems to be doing fine. Yeah. Rock's. All righty, you take care. And you're getting get well soons up there. Okay. Yep. Yeah, I told him I'd give him an update on you the week after next, because next week it'll still be a few days beforehand.
Yep, exactly.
All righty. You take care, Chris.
Thank you. Just wanted to check in with everyone.
Okay, bye-bye. Let's see. Goodness gracious. Yeah. So anyhow, I think things are just going to get, really unpredictable. Anywhere from screwed up to, end of the world sort of crap. Impossible to tell. Too many big things, too badly fucked up. I can't tell. But I don't see them giving up without a real fight. In other words, just because it's against the law or against the Constitution, that's not going to be an issue. You've noticed, like on the border, the laws, Constitution, that's so déclassé. So I think it's going to get real interesting, unfortunately. And I don't know. But that's why I've been so distracted, so that I'm not focused on fishing and mining and stuff like that. Getting prepared, like getting the truck fixed and other things. And that's, it takes time and focus. Plus, as I say, just keeping track of all this crap takes time and focus. And I don't know how to, focus on something I can't really do anyway. For those of you who are interested, the New Hampshire thing looks like it's going to go to Trump, no problem. All the polls are saying he's leading by like 20 points.
While Nikki Haley is out campaigning amongst the Democrats.
Yeah.
She's asking the Democrats to vote for her.
Yeah, pretty much, honey bunny. I get that feeling. So, don't know. But we try and keep that kind of discussion past the, what do you call it, tinfoil hat report, so that those who don't want to listen to things like that can just tune out, either before, when Eva starts or after Eva's done, so we won't annoy people who don't want to be exposed to that. But I just say, I'm not pessimistic in the long run. I think we got a darn good chance of wiping the floor with them. But the whole thought of wiping the floor with them is not going to be a pleasant thing, in my opinion. It's not going to be a good time. Well, I don't. Eva's very good for me in that way. I've also been through some shit in the past, as I'm sure, Honey Bunny and Rock and a bunch of others of you too. Is like, once you get over the fear of being dead, or at least where it's not a big deal, yeah, it's going to happen. It makes it a lot easier to look at these things without getting overwhelmed. My youngest daughter has a problem with that. There's a siren outside. Let me see. It's unusual here.
No, never hear the ambulance.
Oh, they're heading out of town. Basically, still going that way.
Yeah, ambulance, isn't it?
I couldn't tell. Never got a chance to see it.
Well, that didn't sound like the fire truck siren. They don't.
I think it was maybe a police car too.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so I say we're not stressing, but when the hurricane's coming, you don't ignore it. You get ready. And so that's what we've been focused on, is getting ready, because I think it's the feces will hit the air handling device before what is it now? Yes, it's 122. Yeah. And wait a minute, 122. This is the 22nd?
Yeah, it's the 22nd.
Wow, I screwed that up. But it's going to be less than a year, because say either we win or we lose before Inauguration Day. Even if Trump were to win and Trump is determined to clean out the deep state, the fight will not be over when he gets in. You take care, Rock. Thanks for coming in. I'm glad you're hitting some good stuff. appreciate your input, as you're always, say, one of the most knowledgeable people we ever get on here. And you take care of yourself, get plenty of sleep, and
don't go close to the border.
hit some good. Well, he can't help it. He's over there by Tombstone.
Yeah.
You know, he's in the general area where shit's going on. That's what he said. He said, several Blackhawks and a couple of A-10s swung by.
Don't be wandering around unarmed or without somebody that's armed.
Yeah. Anyhow.
Not safe area.
Let's say, we shall see what we shall see. As Eva says, make sure somebody on the crew's got some guns close to hand. Think of it like bear protection. Rock says the whole crew is packing.
Good.
Good for you. So anyhow, I say that's why I'm so distracted. And from a mining standpoint, I apologize. From a practical standpoint, I don't. If I can be helpful in that mode to anyone, then that's more important. I say, I don't know. I really don't frickin' know. Hey, by the way, Rock, you got any familiarity with 1911 pistols? And what's your thought on that one? I'm probably going to get a 10 millimeter here shortly. I got some little money showing up. Going to fix the truck, and with the leftovers, I was planning on getting a 1911 and 40. And that way it's big enough to be reasonable against a grizzly bear. Not ideal, but I mean, it's not as big as the 44, but it's more rapid than the 44. So I presume you could probably deliver accurate energy on target as fast or faster with the 10. But we shall see. Anyone else got any subjects to bring up here? I don't know. Say, going to be interesting times this next year. Impossible to tell what the hell's going to happen. But we shall see what we shall see. It would be nice if we could get the information stream to settle down on the truth somewhere. Little too big, honey bunny, for self-defense and bears. This is more for in town, not in the field. The 44 is fine for in the field. Okay, there's no sense spending $500 plus to improve on that. The 44 I will probably still carry in the field, but I might not. Depends on how easy the 10 is. But in town, the 44 is pretty big for concealment, and it's not ideal for self-defense. It's not bad, but something that's a faster reload and a faster reacquisition of the target and an easier trigger pull, yeah, there's advantages. So I say we're looking at that. Nobody got anything? Now, if nobody has anything to bring up, don't pet the grizz. Yeah, that's a good idea. I understand, honey bunny. I say the 44 is, marginal on a grizzly bear, but say 50 caliber that's a specialty weapon. The 44 is a multi-purpose. The first 2 rounds in it that I've got are 44 special hollow points to try and minimize over penetration in a self-defense in town situation. When I'm out in the field, I just swap those out for the 240 grain soft nose 44 mag. It's easy to adapt your load to the situation. Likewise with the 10, I want to get something. I may have to go to frangible ammunition to minimize the chances of over penetration if I can get something that will work well and cycle well and stuff. And then when I'm in the field, if I'm using that, I'll be using like hard cast lead. Yeah. Yeah, you probably are, honey bunny. I'm not. I'm just a frickin' miner. No, a 10 millimeter has a lot more penetration than a 9. It's going about the same speed. A 9 has better penetration than a 40 caliber, but a 10 millimeter has basically the same velocity as a 9, but the weight of the 40. And that's a 10 millimeter is essentially a 41 Magnum. Just one step under the 44 in terms of power. But with a 1911, frame, plus it's so easy to change them out. I mean, for I don't know, $200 or $300, you can buy the parts to just, a new mag and the new barrel slide assembly, slap it on there. You can go with 22 long rifle, 9 millimeter, 45 ACP, whatever. Say my concern is getting deep penetration on bears and shallow penetration on two-legged targets. And to me, that means I'm going to have to use radically different ammunition. From what I understand, solid cast lead, hard cast lead is usually good enough to penetrate a bear skull without a problem. Yeah, exactly. It's surprising to me how easy it is to convert the 1911 to almost anything. You swap the barrel slide and spring assembly, and all that stuff just comes off at once. Put a new one on, change magazines, voila, there you go, done. It's like, wow, that's nice. I want to get a 22 so I can practice a lot at a reasonable price. There's a new gun manufacturer expanding a plant here in Helena. But basically, they call it an AR-15, but I'm sorry, 308 caliber is not an AR-15. That's an AR-10 in my book. But anyhow, it's got a recoiling barrel, like an artillery piece has recoil and shock absorbing. And so it dramatically reduces the recoil, supposedly. And they're trying to expand that to about 100 employees, and their plan is 100 rifles a day.
I didn't know that we had a plant in town.
It's just expanding right now. They moved in from Utah.
Where'd you find that out?
I heard it. I think Clara mentioned it 2 days ago, and I looked it up this morning. And so that's, an interesting thing. But I forget what the name of the company was. But rifle manufacturer, Helena, Montana, and you should be able to get it real quick. Let's see here.
Should have named it something like Lewis and Clark.
Yeah, there we go. Vulcan recoilless rifle. That sounds a little weird. That is not what it was just looking at. What the hell? Interesting. Control C. Says Montana Firearms Manufacturer expanding production in Helena. Go back to here. Click that. Control V. There we go. There you go if anyone's interested. I don't know what the other one was. I try. I mean, there's apparently a big controversy or difference of opinion on modern handguns, where a lot of people like the Glock styles and things like that, among other things, because they don't have a separate safety device. It's all in the trigger. I don't know about you folks, but to me, if pulling the trigger will always make the gun go bang, you don't have a safety. You know? Okay, I got the link there, honey bunny. And you know, it's like, okay, so if you pull the trigger, it's going to go bang. That's not a safe gun. Whereas a 1911, you've got a manual safety and a grip safety. If either one of those is, you know, not in safe mode, it's not going to go bang. Plus, it has an external hammer instead of a striker. So I can, if I want to, I can set the hammer down. And I know that it can't go bang either. You know? Yeah, you have to practice a little better and you have to get good at taking a safety off. But goodness, I used to hunt all the time when I was a teenager, and yeah, you had a safety and you know you had to take it off. You know? And so that's why I, you know, I don't like a gun without an actual safety, you know, not just a sear block to keep it from accidentally going bang if you hit it, you know. I say it just makes me feel unsafe. Plus, I do like to be able to see the if the hammer's down, and I know, okay, it's not going to go bang no matter what. Masad Ayub is of the firm opinion that if you're carrying for self-defense, you want a round in the chamber, because there are situations where either you don't have time or you don't have the ability to cycle the action. For example, if you're fighting someone with your left hand, you know, how are you going to cycle the action? So with the 1911, you pull it, safety off, ready for use. Thing. Sounds fine to me. There's a few, well, I guess we will see when I get it. It's a Rock Island is what I'm looking at, because I can't afford, you know, a Kimber or, you know, what's that? Not Daniel Defense, Wilson Defense, Wilson Combat. I can't afford a Wilson Combat or a Kimber or anything like that. So we'll see when I get it whether or not everything is polished smooth enough to operate normally, or whether I'll need to take it to a gunsmith and have him, you know, smooth it out just a little. I don't think I can afford 500 rounds through it, you know. And so I say that's my thought. But a 10 millimeter specifically for bears, but a 1911 specifically for self-defense. And in that mode, I say I'm going to be going with, you know, radically different bullets for radically different situations. I don't know who makes the best. I mean, Colt's made them longer, Yeah, the fitment, but also the polish. At least in the older versions, they had to do some break in to work polish the various parts, and yeah, say I'm not an expert on that, and I would not want to try it if I don't have the money to buy another one if I fuck it up. So I'd prefer to have an expert do that. If it cost me 150 bucks, oh well. Honey Bunny, how long would a gunsmith take to do that? As I understand, you've got um, your barrel ramp, your slide and frame grooves, and your thumb safety all may require a bit of smoothing out. What would a normal armorer take to do all those things? An hour or two? Because that gunsmith over at what's the name of that place? Capital Sports.
Capital Sports.
He charges um, $70 an hour. Yeah, I assume that, Honey Bunny. I'm presuming a rock island is, from what I can tell, it's a decent quality, but not, it's not pre-tuned or anything. And I say my guess is for just the basics, probably 1 to 2 hours. But I don't know. We'll see. I mean, if everything chambers and runs okay, straight out of the batch, just run some ammunition through it to make sure that everything works well and it's reliable, and let it work in from there. I don't know. But yeah, it's just one of those deals where not my expertise. But yeah, I'm looking at a single stack 10 millimeter 1911. Single stack because it fits my hand better. It's easier to conceal. And I don't want that thing in the back of my brain going, you got plenty of bullets. You got plenty of bullets. I don't want that. I want you've only got so many bullets, to get me to focus. And my brother's got a 7 millimeter he just bought recently that, I mean, he's literally drilling single holes at 100 yards with it, which is just insane. We're not talking 1 minute of arc, you're talking a quarter minute of arc. I mean, they don't even really look like, much in the way of oval on those holes. You're getting at least 50%. There's more than 50% overlap on the two bullet holes. It's like, yeah, that's impressive accuracy. Absolutely. I couldn't do that no matter what because my eyes are not that good. Even with a, 20 power scope, I'm not going to be to see that accurate. Plus, my shooting, I'm not that steady even from a rest, but that's okay. Say for defense against bears or people, if they're far enough away that really becomes important, you're probably not going to need to shoot them or have the legal justification to do so. Although it might be perfectly acceptable with a grizzly bear, if it's looking hinky at 100 yards, to wing one or two near it to let it know this is a bad idea. Why don't you go your way and I'll go mine, and everyone will be happy. If you want to keep coming, life's going to get unpleasant for at least one of us. I would say so too, Honey Bunny. That sounds like a perfectly reasonable conclusion. Yeah. So anyhow, that's what we've been focusing on. Does anyone want to try and talk me out of my paranoia at this point, or does everyone agree? I was with entirely that and the splash, the loud noise and that splash. I think that would get their attention. Lauren was talking about a grizzly bear, somebody up in the area he was working at, winged one past last fall, and he said it was going through the tree so fast it was smashing through saplings, which is fine with me. Those kind of grizzly bears I don't have a problem with. And especially as it's my understanding, Honey Bunny, that in many cases the bullet really doesn't hurt that much. It does something to the nervous system when it hits. It just kind of overwhelms it, so that you really don't get that kind of pain stimulus like you would if, say, you smashed your thumb with a hammer. We don't seem to have any of those up here. Not sure why.
What?
Feral dogs. We are getting the possibility of some hybrid wild pigs coming in from Canada. These would be a hybrid of domestic pigs and Russian boar, so they can handle the temperatures and stuff.
We should be so lucky.
My suspicion is if they start coming into Montana, there will be no bag limit, no season.
We should be so lucky.
Yeah. So we shall see. We shall see. Yeah, I don't think too many of them will make it this far south. I have a feeling the hunters further north of us will thin them out.
Well, we'll just have
in a
to
heartbeat.
migrate north to get one.
Yeah, we'll have to go north.
I mean, really, dude.
I think, what is it, Fort
I
Peck
don't really
Reservoir?
care.
It's supposed to be really good fishing. But anyhow. Okay, folks. Well, if nobody's got anything, I will probably call it a night here. Are you having a problem with wild pigs, Honey Bunny, in Arkansas? I would think you might. Swarms of coyotes, huh? Well, they need to put a bounty on the coyotes, too. Yep, that's the best way to keep them under control. We got deer tracks right outside the building there in the snow. Hilarious. Yep.
Always.
All righty, Honey Bunny, you want to sign us out of here? Yeah, they're cheaper. So, anyhow, that's it for this week. And we will see how things are going next week. Should have the truck lined up to go into the shop. And that's hopefully we'll have results from the lab too. So we'll see how that worked out. Anyhow, you guys take care. Happy prospecting and keep it safe out there. Perfect timing.